Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to Know Your Gear QA Live number 246, brought to you by the patrons. That's who support the channel. I figured I should probably do some more shout-outs about that since they have been supporting this podcast for 246 episodes. They've been the sole sponsor, so thank you for that. If you're new to the show and you're watching live, if you want to address me, please put a question mark first so I know it's directed towards me. And what else? That's about it. I try to get to any interesting topics I can. And if you have super chat, I'll definitely, those hit me because they're bright and colorful. If you're a channel member, I try to hit those as well. Like Declan right there saying, whoop, whoop, it's Phil. It's nice. I can see them. They have a little Funko Pop of me holding my bass, and that's how I identify them very quickly. So great. I can't wait to start the show. I hope everybody had a good week. My week went by fast, but it was definitely a week of like getting caught up. I was getting caught up on so many things. Still super behind on so many things, but so much more caught up at the same time, which feels amazing. It's like things come off your shoulders a little bit. Yeah, that feels good. Getting some stuff done. So I'm sure at some point we'll be talking about everything that happened this week on the YouTube and what else? Randy Crook said, "Hey Phil, would rather have more inexpensive guitar or fewer high dollar guitars?" Okay, so I think this is a question to me. He says, so Randy says, "Hey, would you rather have more inexpensive guitars or a fewer high dollar guitars?" Myself, inexpensive guitars. Well, it depends on your philosophy, right? I think most players want to have like the spice of life. In other words, variety is the spice of life. Something fresh and exciting. And for me, it's not about how much guitars cost. It's about how much can I afford. It's always been like that. I can't remember. I try to remember like when I had a Schecter and a Made in Mexico Strat and a crate amp. Was I unhappy? And I wasn't unhappy. It was great. I remember like the first time I remember the first big deal guitar I got was musician's friend was blowing out Ibanez RG7620s in Galaxy Black for $299. And it was funny. It was that time of eBay when eBay had just kicked up. This is really early 2000s, so maybe 2000 itself, 2001 maybe. And I remember being home. I had a root canal. I was at home from work with a root canal. Saw them for $299 and thought, oh, if I buy this, I'm gonna get killed because I can't justify $300. And $300, back then, still a lot of money like it is today. And but they were so cheap. So I went on eBay and I go, what are they going for used? And they were going all day used for like $400 or $500. So I bought 2 of them. Put them on the credit card, and when I got them, I sold one immediately, and I got like $500 for it. So it made obviously the other one $200. That was nice. And but the big deal, the reason I tell you the story was at that time I had a Made in Mexico Strat, I had the Schecter that I loved, and then now my first 7-string. And I remember thinking like, this is it. This is all the sounds I need. Got my Strat, got the Schecter for metal, got the 7-string, and I was happy. So the idea of this collecting expensive or inexpensive guitars really has to do with just your comfort zone, your economic boundaries are the biggest thing of this, And that, like I said, I've decided that definitely connects to your comfort zone. The problem with me is that no matter how my collection's grown or how I've done things in my life, I think I'm still going to always be a certain mentality. And the reason is I read this really interesting thing where they asked millionaires if $100 was a lot of money. And I'm probably messing this whole thing up, but I just want to get to the point, which is Julia Roberts, the actress, was asked if $100 was a lot of money. And she said, yeah. And yes, it was. And what they kind of this conclusion they came to, which again, in this article was that if you were, I don't want to say poor, I'm going to say if you were not rich as a kid, and maybe poor even makes it worse. No matter how much money you have, you still look at things as like, that's a lot of money. And what I find is that's exactly my mentality, is that I don't think I'm ever going to break from, I still look at, my wife and I make fun of ourselves because when we go to the grocery store, we still like look at the price tags like, oh, this is 18 cents less for, like, we talk back and forth, like 18 cents less for this detergent. She's like, oh, well, this detergent's got 2 ounces more. And like, we're bargain shopping. And we sometimes go, gosh, it's just in our mindset to never let go of that. And so this brings me to your guitar collection. I think that's how you should be. You should buy what makes you happy. And like I said, I've experienced both sides of that where, sometimes you get something exotic and exciting and expensive and it doesn't make you happy. And sometimes you get something inexpensive and fun and it makes you happy. So, but to answer your question, I would rather have, not a lot of guitars. Don't get me wrong. I have more guitars than I physically want, if that makes any sense. And part of that, like I said, is the YouTube channel. Behind me, and I point this out every time this comes up, and again, I'm very fortunate and happy to have this, but behind me, there are some guitars that are gifts, and I'm just not going to get rid of them. But because they're gifts, it still doesn't make me not want the guitar I've always wanted my whole life. You know what I mean? So it's really cool. Like, for instance, I have the EVH out today, the striped EVH. Man, I just love that guitar because it reminds me of Eddie Van Halen. Although, if you told me, if I could have one guitar, that would even make the top 20, not for any other reason than I just, I only have it for that reason. It's a luxury item to say for me. This is definitely, of guitars are all luxury items, but this is definitely a luxury item. If the mortgage was one day past due, guitars like this would be the first ones to go because, like I said, I can't justify having them for any other reason than saying, I wanted it, and it's because I wanted to, like I said, homage to Eddie. Ronan67 says, how many guitars does a guitarist need? Just one more. Yes. I always tell everybody, one. None. Actually, the answer is none. I think the answer is you don't need one. You just want one. It's a want product. Yeah, Susan says, shoot, I talk to myself like that in the grocery store. Yeah. When I was a kid growing up, I was the number kid. It's funny, I would have never told the story right now, but my wife and I, again, were reminiscing at the grocery store. And my whole life growing up, I was the kid that was responsible for the number. So for instance, what happened was my mom would go to the store and maybe the number was $70. That's what we had to spend for grocery in the house. So my mom would walk around the grocery store and my whole job was to remember whatever number she just told me. She's like, we're at 18. I go, okay. And then she'd buy, put a couple of things in the cart and she'd be like 21. I'm like, okay. And then she'd, and then all of a sudden somewhere in there, she'd be like, where are we at? And I go, we're at 46, 6. Well, we wouldn't do it down to the penny, but round it off to the nearest 10 cents. So 46.60. She's like, okay. Right. And I remember a lot of times she'd be like, okay, she would, because she wouldn't tell me the total, she'd tell me the number, $5. And then I would go, okay, that's 70, that was 73. And she's like, okay, we got to take something out that's $3. So I was the number kid. So it's like I still shop that way. It's like in my head, numbers all the time. Unfreaking Believable says, I need another amp, but I cannot decide. Yeah, it's tough. It's a tough thing, man. Okay. I just laugh because I'm like, yeah, I know that feeling. I have to get rid of a few. Unfreaking Believable. Maybe you need one of the ones I got to get rid of. I will be doing the review probably this week or the following week, probably the following week, just because I have so many things slotted coming up that I'm finishing up editing on. I got my Imperial Tone King. If you guys check out the Ryan at 6 Cycle Hum, he got his as well. I told you guys that we both got one. He got a different one than me. He picked out the more adventurous color, the turquoise, and he got the combo. I got the head and cabinet, which is really cool. And so I'll be definitely doing a video of that amp. But I've told you guys this before. If stuff is coming to visit, like a product sent to me to do video content for, well, then it comes to visit. It's here. I do the videos, and then it goes back. If products like that Imperial from Tone King come to stay, something's got to go. Just because a company sent it out and I get to keep it, I either sell it or something's got to go. And something's got to go. So something will go because of that amp. That's just how that goes. Because same thing, I physically cannot fit any more crap in this room. So, Gary says, new guitars make you play better. I just want to read in random comments. E.R. Webster, I just want to read it. It says, because we're on the subject, I know it's not guitar related, but it kind of is, because guitar, we're collectors. He says, the greatest thing about doing well financially isn't having expensive things. It's not worrying about necessary everyday things. I have no idea. The reality is it's my personality. I worry about money daily. It's a weird thing. My wife is try to beat it out of me, not physically, but every way she can. It's to the point where it's the only probably tick that I have that really gets under her skin. I am constantly focused on how we're going to go to the poorhouse one day. I think, but growing up, she was not well off by any means, right? Obviously, but in my family. It was, like I said, our family was like feast or famine, and it was literally, sometimes we were super poor and sometimes we weren't, but sometimes we were. And so those things stick in your head, man. You can't shake them loose. So I'm constantly always like waiting for the other shoe to drop. Okay. We got to talk about guitar stuff. Mateo says, hey, do hardtail strats tend to have the ability to have lower action? No, really have no factor whatsoever on anything. So no, essentially think about this. All tremolo based Stratocasters are hardtail strats in the concept of, you can just compress the springs down to the point where the bridge is just against the body. And now the major difference would be a tonality difference, because you'd have those springs. But if you shoved, Steve Vai shoves, I think, tissue in his cavity. If you watch his rig rundown, Steve Vai shoves like tissue and stuff in the cavity, some stuff. I have videos where I show you how to mute the springs in the back of guitars with foam, and you can do it with, I use surgical tubing and cut it and wrap it around. You could do that too. But anyway, so no, it wouldn't have any effect on the way the guitar performs. It's more of a tonality thing. And even that is really minimal. Okay. I Watch Stuff 6 says, hey, Phil, do you think the SE will sell more core Silver Skies? Sure. Of course. Well, first of all, let's not even talk about the fact that just having the conversation all week about Silver Skies is going to make Silver Skies do better. That's just how it works. The thing is, it's a gateway drug. We already know gear math, right? Gear math is, you know how many people bought a Silver Sky SE this week? I have no idea. However, I'll tell you what I think I know. And again, this is not official information, okay? This is just something I think I glanced off over, gleaned. I should say the word is gleaned. Gleaned from conversations having with certain people. My understanding of, as you guys know, there was not a whole lot of YouTube channels. I know you guys went out there and you saw like Silver Skies everywhere. I was shocked how few YouTube channels were sent Silver Skies. I was really shocked. I'm sure you guys like all week were like, it's everywhere and I'm sick of it. But if you paid attention, like I was paying attention, like I feel like 70% of those companies, or 80, were the stores, because obviously the stores got the inventory and they just made videos. But if you look at like dedicated channels like Mary Spender, my channel, I forgot. There's a couple. I feel bad when I do this. I don't want to mess up the name. It's he does the spiritual channel, where they do worship music, worship tutorials, I think is what it's called, or something like that. I apologize if it's wrong, but there was what I saw, half a dozen channels sent a Silver Sky SE, which was interesting, and then everything else I saw was either people who just bought theirs and got it already and started doing unboxings, or, like I said, tons of stores. Like I said, obviously Anderton's, Sweetwater, all those, of course. So the reason I say that was something that I was a little shocked with, because when I was approached by PRS to get the SE Silver Sky, of course, I was like, oh yes, I want to do it, because I like you guys. I've been super curious, right? And what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say, so I happen to understand that they were ready to ship. I think I was kind of not really disclosing that to you guys, but kind of let you all know, like they're ready to ship the day it comes out. Like that day that video went up. I didn't know when to put my video out, by the way. I was just told I can't put out video until John Mayer puts out a video. So I literally just waited. And then as soon as I saw John Mayer's video, I like put it out like an hour later. So my point is, I think they sold out. Well, let me put it this way. I know they sold out. I had no idea how many they made, but they had a crap ton of inventory. Like they were ready for this. This is probably the most organized like drop I've ever seen of a product launch, where a company was like really strategic about what they kept back from everybody and then what they launched out. So the reason I go into this long tirade to tell you this is I heard now, not from PRS, but from other entities, store entities, they're sold out to like March already. Like it's next 3 months are sold out. And so the reason I tell you that is, obviously it did really well. Now you got to think about something for a second. They're now going to be all these players that get these, and gear math is going to kick in. If this one is good, well, then the USA one has got to be better, and they're gonna go. They're gonna do that. So yeah, I think a lot of people are gonna get Silver Sky SEs. Of course, my prediction, which is what I told PRS when they first offered to send one out to me, I told them, I said, you're gonna sell a ton of these to everybody who has one. Now, just to give you an idea of things, I still, like I said, I didn't say it in my video. The patrons got a slightly different version of the video you guys got. And in there, I talked about the fact that I prefer the SE over the Core. I decided not to say that in the video because I didn't want to say that. I didn't want to say it because I think that kind of statement in a video could lead people to more impulse buying. And again, I'm not here to sell you the product, as like I said. But I prefer the SE over the Core. That's just my personal opinion. For a ton of reasons. One, like our first question today, inexpensive versus expensive guitars. Having I like to call it side salads. So there's main course and side salads. To me, a main course guitar for me would obviously be like Nathan's guitar, that Valiant guitar right there. That I literally, that's a daily player. I pick it up. I just enjoy playing the crap out of it. And then like a side salad guitar is, like I said, it's a luxury. This Eddie Van Halen guitar, picking it up and playing a couple Eddie Van Halen riffs, or picking it up and just doing stuff with it is very exciting. The Silver Sky to me is that guitar for me, right? It's a side salad guitar. You just pick it up and I play very bad C minor blues licks. I do my best, and so to me, having a $2,000 guitar that's not a primary function, guitar that I use, it was a little much. So it's a little easier this way. Idiot Brother and the Can We Talk About This said, I heard Fender is releasing a new line of guitars next week. I'm not shocked. I think everybody's going to be releasing product right about now. You got to understand, it doesn't feel like it because the last 2 years went by kind of fast. I mean, I don't know if you guys feel like that. Some people probably feel like it went by really slow, but it's been this crazy 2 years of COVID. And whether you realize or not, there wasn't a lot of products released. And I'm very in touch with that because of the fact that I know how much new content I've done. New content meaning new products. When I did my year in review for both 2020 and 2021, both times it was very, very powerful when I was doing the editing. To me personally, when I was sitting there going, man, that's like 90% of the stuff I reviewed has been around for years. Like I was reviewing, I was just, like I said, I bought some stuff, some companies sent some stuff, but literally nothing was like new stuff. So there you go. Al says, Mary Spender, as well as others, stated they prefer the SE. I think so. Look, there's a lot of things that are great about the Core guitar, but basically my takeaway is the Core guitar is exactly what John Mayer wanted. Like it's exactly what that's what I said in that video of my Core SE, our Core Silver Sky video. I feel like this is John Mayer's guitar, and if that appeals to you in every way, that's great. However, I just want the sound of that guitar, and I want the fit and finish the guitar, but I didn't want all the other things like the 7.25 and stuff. And so I feel like the SE is more of his attempt to make a guitar that's more for everybody, and that would make sense. Because I'm sure he's not going to play one. I'm sure he's got his core ones that he loves and he plays those. Declan says, "Hey Phil, what you reckon So weird, Declan. What you reckon? What you reckon will happen first on the Silver Sky SE? More colors or maple necks? More colors. That would be my guess. I'm going to guess more colors. I would imagine that they come out with the core colors, and then if they're smart, which I think they are, I think the next step in the evolution of the SE would be to toss out limited edition colors. They'll kill with that. I mean, right? All they got to do is pick either a cool color or a color that's off the primary core line and go, hey, we're doing what's that pink one that everybody wants? The core pink one? Do the pink one or something like that. It'll do crazy. Audio Monster said, did Firefly guitars go under? I don't think so. Sorry, I keep rubbing my eyes, guys. It's like, I don't think so. They just sent me a guitar. I just showed up literally yesterday afternoon. I have one of their new acoustics. They sent it out. I have not tried it, but very few companies send me acoustics. So for acoustics, I have an orange one coming video. I have a PRS, their new line of acoustics coming, and I have a Firefly because I want to do acoustic videos all the time, but companies really don't send out acoustics. And what's funny is companies do this funny thing to my channel. When it comes to acoustics, I'll talk to acoustic companies. I do. And they'll say, yeah, but your channel's really not known for acoustics. And I go, yeah, but my acoustic viewed videos do so much better than, they do great. So what's the problem? They do great. It's a guitar channel. So yeah. Oh, Anthony said he just got his KYG shirt and he went with the Explorer. That's cool. You know what's cool about that is when you say that, I go, I didn't know we have that one still. I don't know what my wife puts out there. I think I've told you she rotates what shirts are available with the types of guitars on the stick figures. I don't know if I told you guys this. This is a funny story. Teespring is who fulfills the orders. And what happens is that when you buy the shirt, of course, Teespring does everything. They collect the credit cards. It's a royalty deal. So that's how it works for all these YouTube channels. That company will process your credit card, ship the shirt. They take care of 100% everything. And then they give me a royalty and they put it in like an account. And I can pull that royalty whenever I want, like a transfer. Okay. And that's what's great about it. It's like, I don't have to do anything. I just, and that's why I tell you guys, if you have any problems, let them know. They literally take care of everything. That's why they're getting the bigger portion of that money. And in very few cases in the past, if you had problems where they wouldn't solve it, you just tell me and I forward it to the people I have there. There's a contact I have, and then it gets taken care of as well. But what's funny about this is when we have so many logos, there's over hundreds, no exaggeration. There's hundreds of different Know Your Gear logos, variations, because one of the premium things that the premium tier YouTubers could do was have custom shirts made. So over the years, my wife's made so many custom shirts, and then she can put out variations and stuff like that. And this is why the story's funny. All the logos, of course, the same logos, they just have different guitars. They have the Explorers, they have Tellys, we have Majesty looking ones, we have V's, you name it. But Teespring, for some reason, constantly if we put out like 20 different guitar logo shirts, they crisscross the shirts because it's like they're not looking at them. Like the employees don't know that subtle difference is in the logo. So when they package them, you guys, whenever we put a lot of them out, I get emails from you guys going, hey, I bought a V and I got a Telly. And when I contact Teespring, they're like, no, I think we sent the right shirt. I'm like, no, they're different logos. They're just subtly the same, but different. So that's cool. Sean Coffey says, Kofi, there's only one O in there, says, how cool is Robert Keeley? Robert Keeley is the coolest. I just want to say that just so I could say that. He's the nicest guy. Okay. Kowal says, hey, Phil, I made it home finally. LOL. My son asked me who Phil was. That's me. Tell your son it's me. It was so funny. He knew what I do this week, every week. Yeah. Well, I love it when I bump into, hold on a second. I love it when I bump into some of you guys in public with your wives. It's always the wives. It's never anybody else. And the wives always say this thing. Not always, not all of them, but a lot. More than more than a little. They'll say, "Oh yeah, I see you every week." And sometimes it's nice, but a lot of times it's more of a recognition of it. And I always apologize. I'm like, "Oh, I'm sorry." And they're like, "No, it's fine." But you could tell it's like, I married this guy. The other thing I've learned is, so you know, and a little fun fact for you guys, bumping into you guys, your wives, everyone's wife, will throw them under the bus like that. Women, and I know there's women viewers and you have husbands and vice versa, and if the husbands do it, that's fine, but I haven't experienced that. I'm just telling you what I've experienced. So this is a notice out, because I know that with 970 people watching right now, there's probably a few wives or maybe girlfriends sitting in the room having to deal with whatever I'm doing right now, listening to me. Let me tell you what you shouldn't do. In the Army, we used to call it Blue Falcon. But more importantly, what I'm going to tell you is, I meet some viewers sometimes, and it's happened so many times where they'll say something to me very casual, like, "Hey, I just want to let you know, hey, I saw you, checking out." And I'm like, "Oh, cool." And I go, "Hey, I just want to let you know I like your channel." And I go, "Oh, cool. Thanks, man. I appreciate that." And the wives, they can't wait to he actually watches you all the time. Or they'll say, no, he doesn't like your channel, Phil. He likes it. And I always go, and I always laugh. And so, and then I go tell my wife, like, as fast as I can, I go, "Oh man, that guy's wife, like, ratted him out." And it's never bad. It's always funny. But I'm telling you, wives, don't do it. Chill, man. Just, right? Just chill. Just like next time, if your husband bumps into somebody they like and they say, "Hey man, I like what you do," just, be like, "Yeah, he does." So just there. I thought I'd share with that. I just think it's funny because it's happened so many times where the wives just immediately go for the, no, he doesn't just watch. He watches all the time. I'm like, okay. All right. Let me let me go to the next question. This one's from Fred. This was like the first question of the show today, so this is why it's got a pen, Fred. It says, "Hey, Phil, Silver Sky SE or the Fender made in Mexico for my first Strat?" I would definitely suggest the Fender made in Mexico Strat. Here's the reason why. It's not a quality thing. Quality-wise, I think they're on par at this point. I didn't see anything different. I've played enough of them, and if I was to do a video of the two comparing them, I would imagine that one's going to sound one way and the other one's going to sound this way. And there's probably things I could go, okay, this is a little better here. This has a gig bag, whatever, what have you. However, I think what people shouldn't confuse, and this is my personal opinion, is the Silver Sky SE is not, I mean, sure, PRS is going to position it to be competition for the made in Mexico Strats. Of course, they're going to do that. They have this ability. Look, we've seen what Music Man has done with Petrucci. With the, they built a whole brand off that arm of that guitar. That arm of that product number. But what I was going to tell you is that what I think I'm getting at with this in a roundabout way is, I think the Silver Sky is still, no matter what, it's slightly attached to John Mayer as you want John Mayer's tone, you want the John Mayer guitar, you want a PRS that's like a Strat. There's all these things that you would want, but I mean, none of those are necessarily better than just a made in Mexico Stratocaster. A made in Mexico Stratocaster is a very solid product. It's made really well. You can pick them up cheap because they are, not relatively cheap, compared used when you find them used. And what do you call it? That's it. So that's why I'm suggesting that. I think if you buy the Silver Sky SE, I think like I said in the video pretty much, I think it's, if you wanted a Silver Sky core, I think this would get this out of your system. I think it's a quality instrument. I think you'd be happy with it. And I think it's a fun instrument to own, like a lot of SEs. And there's a lot of things that are great about it. But necessarily, if you were in the market for a made in Mexico Strat, now this presents itself, I don't know why you would go, okay, yeah, I'm definitely going to do that. Unless, of course, you wanted a PRS, you like John Mayer. Like I said, all the other outlying factors and that's just my opinion on that. So, and everybody keeps asking me, that's the number one question I've been asked all week with comments. And maybe that's maybe a good video. But I want to do the video because I think it'll get clicks. Because it's interesting video. You guys will be interested. And I'll probably maybe do that. But like I said, I really believe, like, without trying them in person, A-Bing them yet, I know what's going to happen. There's going to be like this one sounds a little brighter, this one sounds a little warmer, this one's this one's that. And at the end of it, they're the same price. It's just going to be like a what do you want to own? Oh, okay. Ron says he ordered a Silver Sky SE from Sweetwater about 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time on the 11th, and they're saying shipped mid-May. So I was wrong, not March, it's May. Okay, I knew it was an M month. I'm sorry. So yeah, mid-May. And that's important because like I said, I can't tell you for a fact, but this is the information I kind of got the, how you can listen into the in-between words of somebody telling you stuff. I got the impression that there was a good amount of inventory the day the video dropped. That's the impression I got, that they shipped out a pretty decent inventory. So I was shocked to see, not entirely shocked, but I was shocked to see it sold out so fast, but I was really shocked to see the back order list get that far deep. So interesting. Okay. Thunder Falcon, who's a member, says, "Hey, what's the status on the John from Bad Cat Amps doing a live show?" We're gonna do a podcast. I don't know if it'll be a live show. Like I said, it'll be like the other bonus podcast. So I actually talked to John at Bad Cat today. He was my first text this morning. He said, "Hey, he really enjoyed the Silver Sky SE video. He just wanted to let me know, and he's got something cool coming out, and they're far from." A production model. They're in prototyping stage. And just because it's funny that you asked the question, it ties into this. He said, hey, he was interested in sending it out to me and having me, check it and give him feedback. Of course, no videos, no nothing, just all behind the scenes. And I told him, since he's in California, I said, hey, why don't I just come out there and check it out? And then we could do the podcast there. So that will probably happen in the next month or two, for sure. I'm not sure I understand the Panda's question. He says, but retailers were pre-ordering when those PRS pictures the week before. Yeah, I'm sure they were pre-ordering. I'm not sure. I don't think I understand the question. Yes, the dealers were pre-ordering, and the dealers were informed of the pricing and everything was going to happen. But like I said, they had inventory when they told the dealers. Okay, hold on a second. Okay, I have some more. Cool. Okay, this is from Adrian. Adrian says, "Hey Phil, how do you go about deciding how much of a discount to ask for when negotiating deals on new gear?" He says he loves the show. Thank you. I appreciate the compliment. Thank you. And this is a great question. I find that, there's a lot of you out there that have been around, around meaning, you've been around the block, things. You know how to wheel and deal. And I found this channel has been really helpful for the other players who are like, they didn't know. You know what I mean? I remember, like I said, in the shop, people would come in your store and they would haggle with you, and that's just part of the deal, as you know. And then some people didn't know they could because they're so used to like I said, if you're new to this, you've been shopping at Target. Like I said, you don't go to Target and you walk up to one of the clerks and be like, what's the best deal you can give me on this blender if I buy that also, if I buy that mixer at the same time? You know what I mean? Like, that's just kind of weird. So it's weird to wheel and deal. And of course, it's still weird. It's weird for a lot of people. A lot of people then had layers of this. In other words, they thought it was weird to wheel and deal. And then they thought it was weird to wheel and deal with bigger box stores because they're like, oh, you don't go into Best Buy and wheel and deal, but you go into Guitar Center and wheel and deal. And you're like, yes. and I, like I said, has nothing to do with me owning a store in the past. It's what I did before and during and then since, which is, it's just the way I like to approach things. I like to approach everything with, like I said, politeness and because it's the old honey. You know what I mean? You catch more bees with honey. So the question though is, how much of a discount do I ask for, and how do I decide? It has to do with a couple things. Certain products, now it's easier on me because I've sold so much of this stuff that I know what the margins are. And things change, over time, but not really. Like for instance, a custom shop instrument has a deeper margin. they actually give them more money on that. Acoustic guitars, like I've told you this before, acoustic guitars have a deeper margin. So if I walked in and let's say, for instance, let's say, you know what? Let's do the best way to play this as Adrian. Let's say, Adrian, you asked me to go with you to the local store, and we walked in and we were going to buy a acoustic guitar between the price of $300 to $500 for you. I know that they will probably on average get a 40% margin. So a $500 guitar, right? They're going to receive, they're going to get $200 of that. Okay. Of that. But believe it or not, a electric guitar is more of a 30% margin. So they're already dealing with 10% less margin right there before we even start talking, if we talk electric versus acoustic. And so knowing that out of courtesy, I wouldn't ask for the same discount on both instruments. Me personally, I would ask for a little bit more with the acoustic because I know they have it to play with. The other thing I do is I also read, like I said, you're musicians, right? Read the room. I read the room. Whether I'm on a call or on a website, I read the room. So for instance, sometimes I don't ask all dealers I deal with. I don't ask them all for the same deals. I ask them for different deals. Some dealers, I'll ask them, like small mom and pops. I go cash. It's a perfect example. My buddy Eric and I went to a music store down. We went on a road trip last Saturday, and I bought a guitar. I told him I told him I always have 3 forms of payment when I go to a mom and pop store and I know I'm going to buy something. I always have cash, debit, credit, and I'm ready to go with whichever one works for them. And for a mom and pop dealer, the first thing usually out of my mouth is, if you can do tax out the door, I can do cash. If that's something you're interested in. And sometimes if I'm reading them a little like a rough, I'll say, but I'll do cash either way. I let them know, like, the discount is up to them. I'm not forcing anything. I'm just asking. And they usually give it. And the reason I do that is because you got to understand that, especially to a smaller dealer, smaller meaning, even if a store does millions of dollars a year, it's still a smaller dealer compared to the Guitar Centers and Sweetwaters. It's the credit card processing fees that kind of kick you in the ass too. You know what I mean? They can get you for 3% and a processing fee. Sometimes that could be 30 cents and sometimes it could be $5. And there's network fees, like if your credit card's out of the network. And you have to understand, if you use a points card, like I use a points card for everything, like everybody, I want to get money back at the end of the year, just like why you go to Costco, so you can get that little bit back at the end of the year and pay your fees. A lot of times the retailers pay those points. That's how it works. That's why I always remind everybody, use your points because somebody paid for them. The banks and credit card companies didn't, out of the kindness, just give you money back. Most of the time it's paid for by it's in the contract with the business. So in other words, like if like my business, if you were to give me a credit card and I would pay, let's say, the fees are great now. So you would pay like, I don't know, not even 1%, but 1% adds up. Right? $100, you pay $1. Okay, I got to take $1. Okay. So, but then let's say you get 3% back. Okay, now it's $4 to give $100, right? Not a big deal. $1,000 means I lose $40 though. Right? On a points card. So imagine if I say, hey, sometimes I can ask for that. If I give you cash and you don't have to pay the fees, can I have them? Right? It's no skin off your back. It's no difference to you. It's $40 in my pocket. That's the way I kind of approach these things. If it's a bigger entity, believe it or not, I kind of push a little harder. I'll push harder on a Sweetwater and Guitar Center for a deal than I will a mom and pop. One, I'm more loyal to mom and pops personally. That's just how it is. That's just my etiquette. But also, I know the bigger companies, they care less. I mean, that's just the reality of it. They, it's usually an employee, and even if they're a great employee, which I've experienced many times, especially with Sweetwater, the employees are vested and they seem like they care about the company. They're not really crunching numbers and worrying about every penny. Like, it's not their personal business. Sometimes I'll be a little more aggressive. Now, the important part to Adrian's question is not, how do you decide? I always ask for something in almost every case. Now, it's very rare. Like I said, if it was, I know it's a hot item, I know it's the only one in stock anywhere, I'm not going to play around and lose out if it's something I'm very interested in, okay? But the reason why I ask is not because I'm cheap, even though I told you earlier I am cheap. It's because a lot of times I need something to push me. My friend will call it enabling, right? He is the enabler. Like if he's with me, he'll be like, you need to get that. I'm like, I don't need a pedal, man. He's like, you should get that pedal. But sometimes I don't have a friend with me and I need the person selling to me to be my enabler. I need them to do something, and if that's like, it's the last one and we won't get any for 6 months, that's enough. I don't need a deal. But if that's not the case, I need something, And so Adrian, the other thing you can do, if you ask, hey, if I pay cash, is there a discount? Or, hey, if I use debit, sometimes debit's easier again, because the processing fees are sometimes zero in debit, which is nice. And if that doesn't work, sometimes if I can't get discounts, another thing to ask for real easy is something thrown in for free. Happens very easy. Sometimes it's even better for everyone involved. Maybe to you, a free pack of strings is $7 in your pocket, but to the store, they gave up $3.50, $3.50, and they made the sale. So it's just, to me, it's just a casual etiquette of just being polite, ask for things politely. And if you're not sure what to do, ask. Just like you need directions if you're lost, asking for directions. Asking someone who sells something for some incentive to make the purchase is a very easy thing to do. You know what I mean? Because you can ask them what's their parameters. Like, hey, I really want this Eddie Van Halen guitar, but to be honest with you, it's just because I really love Eddie Van Halen, and it kind of it's really hard. I'm just trying to justify it. Is there anything you can do to kind of push it over the edge? And they're like, sure. What if we throw in a case? And you're like, okay, fine. That sounds great. Or, hey, we can give you 10% off. So there you go. And just because, so on that purchase I made with my buddy Eric, I didn't ask for a discount. Actually, I just told them I had 3 methods of payment. I said, I have cash, credit, and debit. And I said, so whichever you prefer. And they said, well, they all work great. I said, oh, okay. I said, well, I'm just giving you options. And he's like, well, cash is king. And then he went right to the register and he basically took the tax off. Wasn't 100% of the tax in Arizona. I think he was at 8% because it's different, state tax and county, city taxes. I think it was 8%. I think he ended up giving me 7%. Sounds good. Worked for me. So like I said, I didn't ask for a discount. I just implied that I had different methods of payment that could be easier on him financially. So there you go. But like I said, I like those questions because I think a lot of times you guys, you don't know. Like I said, you don't know how to do it. Some of you are gruff, man. Some of you know how to ask for a deal, and it's not a problem for you. You got to understand, there's an awkwardness to a lot of people. They just don't know how to ask for they don't want to, one, offend anybody, and two, it's like it's an awkward feeling to go, I know you set the price, but I don't want to pay that price. I want to pay something else. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with asking, because it's not even about, for me, it's about the discount. It's about I just feel weird. Like if I later found out like, what? It was cheaper than what they sold it to me for. That's the worst. Somebody's like, throw in a cake. My niece says, throw in a cake. Sure, why not? Yeah. Jim said the Silver Sky SE was the first thing I haven't asked for a discount in years. Again, like I said, perfect, Jim. Jim reading the room, so to speak, is following the term. It's on short supply and it's new and it's hitting out. So yeah, of course, like I would have been the same thing. I would have put for instance, a good example with me is sometimes if I know I'm not going to need any kind of discount or not going to get one, and it's all about availability online, I'll just buy it online, right? Like I said, I'll buy it online. But before I buy stuff online, a lot of times I'll call the store and I call and I say, hey, I have a question. I want to buy this online. Is there anything, is there any kind of deals or discounts or anything you guys are running, anything you're doing? Like I said, I just asked them, is there anything you can do or you're doing that I should know about? And they're like, sometimes like, nope, that's just the price. I'm like, okay. And then to be honest with you, sometimes I get off the phone, sometimes I buy it, and sometimes I go, well, then it's going to be there when I come back for it later. Then maybe it's not time to buy yet. Peter says the EVH guitar is really taking a beating today. Yeah, it's just because I'm looking at myself, which means I'm looking at what you guys are looking at, and it sticks out. Let's just say it sticks out the most. I watched stuff said, Phil inspired me to make offers, and it's lost me a lot of money because buying more stuff. Yeah, that's why I said ultimately it is sometimes a good thing. It's a good thing. Like I said, as I'm telling you, because my joke is I've been on both sides of the counter, right? I've been selling the guitars in my life and I've been buying the guitars, and someone who's selling them, someone who had to pay the bills, feed their family, selling to you guys, I'm telling you, I've never look. Sometimes people come in just like everybody does on Reverb now, offer you stupid prices for things. Hey, so you got $1,000 on that? Would you take $200? You know, I get that. You know, that person's either an idiot or they're an asshole, and sometimes both. And that happens. You know what I mean? There's the low ballers. That's why there's so many comments. No low ballers, right? You know, you have to kind of be aggressive in your statement. Like, please, you know, don't come and drive me nuts with these stupid things. But that's the minority of this. The majority of people are really just trying to make a purchase for something they don't need, and they need someone to help them, like I said, enable them. Help me reconcile this logic of why I need my 14th guitar. And sometimes that's easy as it comes with a free pack of strings. I got it. Okay. Well, that just that made it worth it. So, okay. Let's see. Okay, next question. Subject is from Ames 5150 said, Phil, EVH should make a solid state amp head, and I want and need one. Brand loyalty. Okay, that makes sense. It's right. Funny thing about that is that I can't remember the year. I apologize. I just can't remember the year. It could have been 2014, but it also feels like it could have been 2012. It was definitely after 2009, because obviously EVH branded. I went and visited the Fender many times, of course, but I was at the Fender Scottsdale Center, which is their main corporate hub. It's where they have like their call center, R&D is there and stuff, and of course Matt Brown and the guys that ran EVH, and I think they're still pretty much the guys that run EVH, were there, right? And I was lucky enough for them to show me this perspective. They like showed me this like a bullet point with pictures of future Eddie Van Halen products. At that time, they only had the 50 watt heads. I think it just came out. So that if you guys can figure out when the 50 watt heads come out, that'll tell you when I was there, because that was the new thing. So it was like the 100 watt heads, the 50 watt heads, and the combos, of course, and then the Wolfgang guitars, and they were showing me all of the future. And in there was the Lunchbox head. It didn't look like what ended up being coming out, but it was there. And there was a little battery powered amp, which we know when it became the mini stack. But originally when I saw the picture, the mock-up I saw looked more like the Blackstar amp in white. And there was a solid state amp. And I remember thinking like, whoa, okay, solid state amp. So the reason I answer that question is because so far, everything on that bullet point thing that they showed me has come to fruition. So I would imagine that's coming. Now that could be this hybrid solid state tube thing, the Iconic brand, but I don't think so. That's not what I got the impression. I got the impression that like eventually there's a solid state amp, but who knows? Like I said, could have been the Iconic line, but I think the EVH brand would be perfect with a solid state amp. I think that distortion is so thick and so saturated that, yeah, you can get solid state technology to do that distortion really well. All of the Metal Zone, right? I mean, obviously, look at all the pedals that can create that sound. It can be done. So I would totally agree. I love my MXR 5150 pedal, as you guys know. Yeah, I love that it has the noise gate in it. That's 90% of the reason I like it, is the noise gate's built in. I think that's a great idea if you're going to make a high gain pedal. If you could shove a noise gate technology in it, sounds fantastic. And so I am not shocked. Just like they make the Friedman mini heads now and the Bogners. I mean, EVH mini heads, something like that, or mini combo solid state. Why not? I would buy it. Talk about all this impulse buying. If they made an Eddie Van Halen 5150 solid state practice amp for sub $200, I would do it. I would be there just so I could practice on the amp and be like, playing my 5150 practice amp. So, okay. Okay. Josh says, hey, Phil, I have been playing through the same rig for years, and I'm happy with it. Okay, but there's more. And he says, but one day, I'm disgusted with it. And the next. So basically what he's saying is some days he's happy with it, some days disgusted with it. back and forth and back and forth. Do you ever experience this? Absolutely. That's why I have a bunch of amps, and I've told you guys this many times. I don't have different amps for the most part for different tones. Like it's not me personally. Maybe for the channel it is important for doing the content. I don't really necessarily go, I don't go, oh, I have my Bogner for the Bogner tone, and I have my, Tone King for the Tone King tone. Essentially, most of my amps, I have one sound that I want, and I like the different way they approach that, and that's what I'm after. And yes, absolutely. For me, like I'm trying to think of a perfect example of an amp I absolutely love, and one of the amps I absolutely love is my 65 Deluxe Reverb. It's a very, very good amp. It's a little pricey now, $1,500. It's a hard to swallow, but back in the day when you could pick them up all day long for $650, couldn't beat that. And I can tell you that amp, what I love about it is that, man, sometimes I plug into it and it's like a dream, and sometimes it's like ice picks in my ear, and that's why I have other amps, because I switch it up. My Princeton, sometimes it sounds full and thick, and sometimes it sounds thin and cheap, and what I've learned for me personally, when I plug into something and I'm not feeling it, I immediately plug into something else. Immediately, just try to find the next thing. Do I think you need as many amps as I have in the room? No. Do I have I think I have the camera laying on the table. Look at that. There it is. I don't know why that's funny, but as you know, I have multiple cameras. So right now you're looking at some of the amps on the app rack. I just saw because the camera's facing that wall. Because I can see it in my little monitor screen here. But no, you don't need that stuff. I think everybody needs 2 amps. I really believe that. You need 2 amps. Whether that's like a little practice amp and then a more of a dedicated rig. If you're a gigging musician, maybe it's an AB rig. I find that to be the reason I say that is absolutely watching people, like I said, buy things, watching the musicians churn their gear. Churn is the term I use when, obviously when things go in and out. And they would buy an amp, and then a couple months later they would sell it back, or trade it back into the store and get a different amp. And then 6 months later, you see them and trade it back, and same thing. And what I learned is if you just have something to A/B back and forth to, something that's just like, perfect example, my amp that I love and hate is my Paul Reed Smith Custom 50 head. I've had it probably the second longest amp I have, right? That I've had. And sometimes it's dark and it just doesn't, it doesn't have the bright tone. And I feel like it's just like, everything sounds like this. And I'm just like, just hating it. And I go, and I'll take it. Sometimes I get so upset with it and the sound. I'll take it downstairs and I'll set it by the front door or in the door going into the garage. That's where things are destitute to be doomed. It's going out of the house. I'm getting rid of this forever. And then some days I plug into it and it sounds amazing because it's not so bright. It just doesn't have a lot of bright tones, and it sounds full and makes so yeah. I think everybody should have 2 rigs, whatever that is. Even if that's 2, even if you're watching right now and you have a Line 6 Spider amp, a 15-watt amp, I would suggest getting a different amp too and keeping it. You know what I mean? Keep 2 little amps. I find it really works great. Now, if you have amps with lots of presets, that kind of works the same way too. So consider that too. Maybe you have different presets, but I find it really helps. And that also has to do with you, by the way. And I don't know if you know this, but a lot of times you have to be aware of the fact that, your ears, if you play guitar in the morning, like I usually get up in the morning and the first thing I do is play guitar. It's like coffee and guitar. And cause I read emails and kind of play and listen. And what I find is I'm fresh in the morning. The tones sound great in the morning. It's in the afternoon after I've heard cars and, dog barking and sounds. Your ears change every day. You know what I mean? As maybe wax builds up in your ears or hairs on your ears move, whatever it is, there's differently things to that. So, and then I love it when people go talk about amps and they sound different when you move them around the room. I'm so crazy. Sometimes I think just temperature changes the way the amp sounds. It's it's cold outside. My amps don't sound. We'll start that. Talk about tone wood. was it tone weather? Cold is bright, hot is warm. Okay, we don't want to go down that road. Let's tag some super chats. We have the first super chat came from Dan, and Dan wants us to know. What does Dan want us to know? Dan wants us to know, I've heard lots of negative things about Blackstar amps. Oh, perfect timing. We're talking about amps. It's the first tube amp that I love. Why does it get so much hate? Well, it gets a lot of hate, one, because it's cheap. And it's, like I said, it's my ongoing joke with my buddies is I was saying if I made different YouTube videos, if I made humorous YouTube videos, I would love to make a video where I just walk into like 20 different music stores and ask them if they have katanas in stock, because every store has like a stack of katanas and it's kind of funny. And then just pan to the stack of katanas. Katanas everywhere. The doom of katana is the katana will eventually be the Nickelback of amps, as all amps have turned out to be as they become. And I mean no disrespect to Nickelback, believe it or not. It's just that's the reality of making a very accessible product. It's just when everybody has access to it and everybody has it, then everybody loves to tell you how, oh, it's so passe, and they, oh, you used to, what? Just trust me, you guys that love katanas, wait till you have to hear every third dude tell you, oh, I used to have a katana, I'm good, I have good hearing now, whatever the hell they're going to say. But the reality is that there's a reason why we need a sexiness and mystique to what we do, and this is, exoticness to the instruments and things. And so the idea that every store has the same amp and everybody has the same amp sometimes wears on people. So that's the thing with Blackstar. It becomes this product that everybody has access to. Everybody kind of owns it. And everybody's like, well, it's cheap, so therefore it's not good. That's definitely a thing that people do. And that's kind of the deal with that. Then there became the second thing, which is always my favorite damn thing that ever happens, which is somebody then comes up with the, well, it's not all tube, it's hybrid. And then that becomes like, see, you're not playing a real tube amp. So, that becomes a thing too. However, like I said, I like good amps, and then it just so happens that a lot of the amps I like happen to be tubes, but I like good amps, and how they get the amp to sound that way, I could really care less how they achieve it. And I like Blackstar amps. I think that overall, they're the best amps, in the category of price-friendly amps. I think you can probably find your hands on. Feature-wise, the digital reverbs in them are good. The distortion's pretty good. The lineouts are pretty good. They're relatively inexpensive. They're pretty good. Now, that's why musicians dog on them. Now, repair techs will dog on them because Blackstar is kind of an odd company. As they are, and they're odd like a lot of these companies are odd, where they have a dealer network and they kind of try to stick to that, and they don't like to give out technical specs to fix their amps, which is a very frustrating thing. And the other problem is inexpensive products by nature become problematic for repair, because whenever you quote somebody double what they paid for something to fix something, it's trash. You know what I mean? That's just how it works. I don't care if it's a guitar. I don't work on amps, so I can't speak to that. But I can tell you that, speaking of guitars, if you bring me $100 Behringer guitar that you got for $30 at a yard sale, and you're like, hey, and I tell you, let's see, I got to round the fret ends, dress the frets, you know what I mean? Do a polish, do the setup, and you're looking at $125. You can imagine, like, I paid $30 for this thing. I'm not paying $155, for this thing when everything's said and done. So, which I totally understand, right? But that's the problem. Same thing with Blackstar. You know what I mean? You can't, if you pay $350 for an amp and then an amp tech tells you that he can't service it because he can't get specs, and the only place you can go to is the certified repair center, and the certified repair center is quoting you $250. It doesn't have to be more. It just has to be a considerable amount of the amp. $250. You're like, well, I can find one used for $250. And so that becomes the problem. They become throwaway. We've seen this over the years with tons of brands. Crate is, of course, a big example. They were affordable, and then, of course, unfixable because of that reason. Unfixable in the idea that they, no one wanted to pay to have them fixed. So there is an argument that Blackstar is not very easy to deal with when it comes to that way. That's something I've heard many times from a lot of people I trust. However, regardless of that, I have personally experienced when things are inexpensive, people don't want to pay to fix them. Because like I said, I think anybody who does repair for a living knows the feeling of writing a I don't even have a term for it. I should, because it happens so much. Writing a dead quote. Like somebody's asking you for a repair quote, but you know it's going to lead nowhere. You know what I mean? But you do it anyways because it's it's your job. Somebody's like, "Hey, how much to fix this? Esteban acoustic. It needs the braces re-glued and everything done." And and again, everybody has different attitudes. The old KYG repair guys are sometimes fun because they're just like, "That's junk. Don't fix it." Easy done. I'm from a different type of vibe, so I'll be like, okay, let me work you up a repair quote and tell you what it's going to be, and then give you some suggestions of things you can next do. So, but yeah, there you go. So that's your answer to the Blackstar stuff. But I like it, if that helps. I like it. I really like the studio amps. I think they sound great. And the only critique I have to say about Blackstar, I still have my Blackstar Fly, little amp. I have the green one now with the pink knobs. I dig that. My only thing, of course, is, like I said, they're inexpensive, so therefore they're throwaway product. But, I don't know. I don't know how. I don't know. Everybody's got to come to their own personal feeling about that. Next, we have Josh Smith. Josh Smith says, "I apologize. I can't watch live." Don't apologize, Josh. Says, but I was curious if you have come across any cool, interesting guitars or basses that needed work. I always thought a cool part of tech work would be seeing people's gear. It is cool. And the way, obviously since I started the pickup company about 2 years ago now. And that's slowly just overtaken everything else. In fact, I don't know how to tell you, it probably won't look like a big deal. See this little teeny scratch? It looks like a cat scratch, and there's a little scratch on my thumb. I'm such a sissy. Look at that little teeny nothing scratch. That wasn't a scratch. That was a serious gash out of my hand. And if you see the two gashes line up, I was building a pickup this week, and something went wrong and cut my hand open. And what healed really good is not the scratch. It was the giant bruise from the impact of the thing that it didn't cut me. So that scratch, little teeny cat scratch that was nothing, was actually caused by a copper plated piece of steel that was smooth and rounded on the edge. And what it cut me was the sheer force and power as it hit my palm and thumb and bruised them. Because I did not do safety first, as sometimes. Oh, I was not OSHA approved, I'm sure. So that really jacked up my time. Yes, it was ouch. Yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's just, it was a little tricky on playing guitar for a little bit. But so my point is, I don't see a lot of exotic guitars. I only get select customers through, repair. It's just anything that's like, okay, yeah, there's something crazy, maybe it slips through. But right now I haven't been taking repairs because, like I said, I've just been dealing with, I get to deal with the pickups and the emails about pickups as fast as I can. Anyways, my point to this is, so I haven't seen a lot of crazy guitars lately. But what I will tell you is a very unexciting story about guitar repairs, which is the exact opposite. And I say this because I know a lot of you watching are repair techs, and some of you want to be repair techs, and some of you guys just do repair on the side. And one thing I will tell you about repairing instruments is that the exotic cool ones are few and far between. That majority of what you do, unless you're just working at some kind of vintage store where you do really crazy cool stuff, you're going to get a lot of the same guitars. It's just a never-ending supply of Deans, Epiphones, Squires, and then all the knockoff versions of those three type guitars just coming through constantly. It makes perfect sense. Think about all the guitars you picked up in a store and thought that doesn't feel good. That's all the guitars you're going to constantly be working on. And there you go. But I'm trying to think of recently anything really crazy that I've done, because I've done a couple weird ones. And I can't think of, I guess this isn't really weird, but a a viewer and slash friend, because I become friends with a lot of the viewers, sent me his really nice Jakey Lee Charvel and had me put Blackstock pickups in it and stuff and change everything out. And that is an exotic guitar. Well, it is expensive guitar. But what was weird is, like I said, it was crazy to see that, because that's like not, I was like, I for me personally, it was like, wow, I'm taking out the pickups out of this guitar to put my pickups in. That was kind of cool. And he said he loved it. So that all worked out. But that was kind of weird and fun. Matthew says, what piece of gear that you've discussed on your channel caused the biggest controversy? Oh, yeah, right. More than you can imagine. That's half my week this week was I was dealing with some company who's trying to shut down one of my videos. Is there a worst, most aggressive type of fanboy Gibson Fender? No, fans never been a problem for me. People are going to get offended. I'm not look, if you're getting offended by stuff I say on my channel, you're just a little sensitive. You need to knock it off. I kind of approach everything, and I watch my terminology and stuff, not because I'm afraid of upsetting anybody, because like I said, my goal of my damn videos is to hopefully at the end of it, excite you and get you energized. I want you to feel good. Because that makes me feel good, and I want to feel good. So it's like, you know what I mean? I want this to kind of go this way. But so all the negative stuff that's ever happened to me has always been with companies, and companies get upset. And the thing I'm doing this week is, and YouTube's so cryptic and it's such a pain in the ass. I got to talk about this. I got a community strike this week. That's right. If you guys know YouTube, you understand what that means. That's a violation of ethics. A community strike means I did something wrong. This particular community strike that I got is called a, crap. I should remember this stuff because I had to deal with it. It was hours of this. It probably sucked up 6 hours of my day. So congratulations to whatever company was messing with me. You were effective, because it did suck up, well, probably sucked 4 hours of my time. The community strike I got was on one of the live shows, and basically, usually when you get these kind of violations, it's somewhere in your content. There's a period of time in your content where you did or said something, showed something, you know what I mean, that you're not supposed to show or say. And in this particular, this company strike the whole video. So they said the whole hour and 45 minutes was a problem. I want to tell you what video it is, but here's why I don't want to tell you what video it is, because the title of the video is probably going to imply what company it is, and I don't know 100% it's that company yet, because like I said, I had to deal with YouTube and going back and forth. So I had to watch the entire hour and 45 minutes because Wanna Beetle's like, are you posting nudes? No, Wanna Beetle, I wasn't posting nudes. In fact, I didn't do anything. That particular show is like this one. It's just the community strike was the violation I got was it was for disclosing someone's personal information and or photos of them. And obviously I had to watch the entire show twice to figure out what could have been possible. Did I go to a website? What did I show? Who did I say? And in that one, even like this one, it's this, like I said, this whole show you've watched, it's just me and the stuff behind me. Obviously it's one of the episodes where I was asked a question about a brand, and I gave some opinions of the brand, and the opinions were not harsh, not mean, not hateful, but my opinions like everything else. And this brand is notoriously known for being a pain in the ass, and it's not Gibson. So just get Gibson out of your mind. It's not. If it was Gibson, I would go right to it, because they're a big company. They can hold their own. So anyways, that's what I deal with a lot. Companies getting upset. So, and this one will be removed. I already can tell it's already going that way. It's going to be removed because obviously they picked the weirdest complaint to complain at. They're basically saying I divulged their information, but they're saying because I said their name without their permission. So it'd be like if I said Brand X, I don't know, they're okay. And then Brand X is like, remove this video for saying we're okay. It's crazy to see how these companies act like little children. It's crazy. And I've dealt with it now a few times throughout being on YouTube. So that's what I deal with when it comes to the negative side of this stuff. It's always a company getting upset about something. And a lot of times, 90% of the time, 80, I don't know, I'm just making it up. Most of the time, it's the live show. It's the podcast that causes the problem. And it's not even me. It's not even me. They're mad at me, of course, but I mean, it's usually like, for instance, like if you guys like, I'll just give you an example of something that happens. And this is just a scenario using the Brand X again. If one of you guys were to ask me a question like, "Hey Phil, why does Brand X suck?" And I say, "Oh, I don't think they suck. I think they're okay." You know what I mean? I mean, sure, some people like them and some people don't. Just the fact that it was said out loud pissed off that company, Brand X, and then they're mad at me for like, "I can't believe you said we suck." And I go, "Well, I didn't say it. I read it." And then we talked about it. And actually, if I recall, I said it was pretty good product. It's weird how, like I said, dealing this stuff. But so that was my community strike. I forgot all about that. That was a big part of this week. That was basically like I mashed my hand and then I deal with the community strike thing. But the problem with the community strike thing, so you know, is that YouTube won't tell you who did it. So I don't know who did it, but I can tell from what the complaint is that it's that company. So we'll see. And again, if I ever confirm that it is, I'll definitely tell you guys. All right. I see everything twice. Happy Friday. Just got a Hot Rod Deluxe and I like it. Okay. But I don't feel like it gets any cool points at all. Is this the minivan of tube amps? I wouldn't say minivan. Toyota Camry would be cool. No, look, the Hot Rod Deluxe does not get its due. It does not get what it deserves. First of all, it's a quality sounding amplifier. It's a workhorse of an amplifier. I think it looks cool, and it's got one of the most accessible panels in the back that you can just pull that panel off and get to any of the electronics and redo the tube, and it's just amazing instrument. A product, I guess it's an instrument because it's an amplifier. I've always liked the Hot Rod Deluxe, and I've always thought that it never gets, it's weird. It's like we should love it for what it is, which is an affordable amplifier that can literally stand tall on a stage. One thing I've always said about PV5150 amps is, in the high gain section, is that you could go into a high-end studio. You could go into, I don't care where you go on the planet Earth, you go into a nice studio if you're going to play high gain amps, and they'll have a Diesel, and they'll have the Bogner, and they'll have the Soldano and the Mesa Boogie, and they'll have all these exotic amplifiers that are $2,000 and $3,000, $4,000, $5,000. Hell, Soldano $6,000, and then there'll be that PV5150 that back in the day you could have picked up for $500 used, but anyways, it's $1,000 amplifier sitting there, and it always sits not out of place. In other words, you don't walk in going, "Well, why do they have that there?" It never gets that credit for that. Well, it does a little bit, but not really. I think the Hot Rod Deluxe is the same thing. I mean, it's used on backlines. It's used for touring. It's like I said, most of the pedal builders out there will flat out tell you that they test their pedals on the Hot Rod Deluxe because, one, they know it's a platform you all have. Two, it's a great platform of a product. It's a great amplifier. I just think it is. So is it a little pedestrian? And that's, again, like, I'm going to use that word, like the Blackstar stuff. Is it a little, what was the word? Somebody caught it in the SE video with John Mayer. That was great. They wouldn't say inexpensive. They said accessible, right? Is it accessible? I like that. It was a funny, like, talk about marketing genius, right? This guitar is accessible because it, right, doesn't offend people. Great word, right? Because if you say it's inexpensive, people are going to go, $850 is inexpensive? Are you crazy? But if you say it's accessible, you're like, I guess it is more accessible than $3,000. It's an interesting marketing term. So back to that word accessible. I think the Hot Rod Deluxe is an accessible product, just like the Blackstar, and the idea that if you have one of those amps and somebody has a $3,000 two-rock and you're on stage, nobody is going to go, "Oh my God, dude, seriously, what are you going to do?" I mean, every time he played, it was just like angels, and then yours was like beer farts. No, great stuff. So yeah, the only negative connotation you've picked up on, which is true, is that it's got a commonality vibe to it, which I like. It's one of the reasons I like Strats. It's one of the reasons I think when people have problems with the Silver Sky, they have with it, because it's kind of like a pretentious kind of guitar. It's expensive. The core, right? It's $2,500 Strat, and I understand that feeling. I have trouble with that both directions, right? I like the idea. It's why, it's like I said, I've talked about this before. It's why I think, like the way I'm wired is I would never own a fancy sports car, but I could own a big truck and the truck would cost just the same. It's like, I don't mind the money spent on it so much as I don't want to feel like at the gas pump that everybody's like, oh, what does he do for a living? Kind of like, I don't like that feeling. I like, you know what I mean? I like being anonymous. I want to be a truck driver at the coffee shop, dump truck driver. So like I said, that's what I like about it. And I think you'll enjoy it. And it's good amp. SJ says, anyone tried the mono price 15 watt all tube amp on Amazon for $262 from China? Looks legit. I have not. I've seen videos, or I've seen the thumbnails. Monoprice reached out to me. It was a really nice conversation. I don't think anything went weird. It was just, they were like, pick some stuff off the website. And then for some reason I couldn't find certain things. Maybe I should try and find their email and go back to them again. I don't know. Maybe I can see. Like I said, sometimes it's like, it's tough when I'm talking to companies because I'm trying to figure out if I'm interested in this stuff or I'm not interested. Are you guys interested? You know what I mean? Brian says, hey, I got my Silver Sky SE on Wednesday from Sweetwater. Which PRS locking tuners would I need to upgrade? Will the USA Silver Sky tuners fit? I do not know. Let me tell you what I think I know, because I haven't done one yet, but let me tell you. The Silver Sky SE tuners, Kluson style tuners, have compression fit ferrules on the top, bushings, whatever you want to call them. They're the top piece of the tuners. It's compression fit. You push it in. The Silver Sky core, I think, has a nut on it because they're the locking style of that tuning key. So first of all, without taking them out, and I haven't done it yet, I'm going to guess that the holes on the core Silver Sky are probably 9 to 10 millimeters as the hole. And the SE is probably 8 millimeters. And again, I'm just guessing. And the reason I'm guessing that is because usually they're going to drill a smaller hole, use that compression fit that ring ferrule. I call it ferrule. And then, put the tuner through. And then, like I said, the other one's going to have this housing that kind of screws together. So what I would imagine is and I don't even know if PRS sells the USA tuners for the Silver Sky. If they do, my guess is the only issue you're going to have to deal with is you're going to have to drill those holes. The good news is you don't need a drill press or anything. You use a hand drill because of the fact that you're just expanding the hole. So it's super easy. You're going to take it from whatever it is, 8 millimeters to 9 or 10, whatever they decided. Probably 10 or something like that. I don't know. So again, you're just going to do that, and then that way you can put the cap on there and screw it on. And then I would imagine, since they look the same, like if you saw my video, the Kluson styles will have the 2 screws on both the top and bottom, and they'll go right in there, and they should line up in theory. If not, you'll have to drill new holes. That being said, I can tell you that you should be able to find Gotoh locking Kluson style keys and even Kluson locking keys. And if you find the right ones, they should just pop in there. The Silver Sky SE that was sent to me, we had we had a deal where they sent it to me, but it was like, if I wanted it, I could keep it. And if I didn't, they wanted it back. And that was very fair. And so, just to give you kind of an understanding of this, if I didn't want it, they'd send me something else in its place. So that's what I had to decide. I'm like, oh, do I want a different SE? Is there something else I'm more interested in than this? No, I like it. But like you, I'm going to probably mod it up. And so I'm going to mod the tuning keys. That's probably what my plan is. And I'll probably change out the bridge pickup. That's it. Put a mini DiMarzio chopper in there, something like that. And then I don't think I'll touch anything else on the guitar. So when I do those tuning keys, I'll show. But that should be it. I'll probably end up putting Gotohs in there. I like Gotoh keys, and I'm sure they'll line up and pop in. And I personally am not a huge fan of the plastic John Mayer Tupperware looking keys on things. So it's not like I don't dislike them. I just, it doesn't do anything for me. So going to the the Gotoh ones is not going to bug me at all. Oh, man. Spawned72 says, new amp day tomorrow. Friedman Dirty Shirley Mini Head. It's a great amp. I got the Dirty Shirley Mini Head, and I have the Twin Sister, and I actually prefer the Dirty Shirley Mini Head. I think the Twin Sister will actually go. I have a small box, And I bought the small box. I couldn't find a twin sister. So, I reviewed one, but it had to go. It ended up going to, where did they make me ship it to? I shipped it to, I know RJ Rinquillo got one. I think it might have got it to him. Papa Stash. I think it was shipped to Papa Stash. That's how sometimes it works in this business, right? They ship you stuff and then they want, it ships it to another channel. So I couldn't have that, couldn't buy it. I tried to buy that twin sister. So later I had to buy one. In between, I ended up buying a small box 50 head. And when I finally got my hands on the twin sister, I thought, oh, when I get that, I'm going to get rid of the small box. But I actually like the small box differently than that amp. And I like the small box and my Dirty Shirley Mini. So I'm glad you're getting a Dirty Shirley Mini. I'm glad you're getting the Dirty Shirley Mini. It's still a fantastic amp. Still love it. Brian. Nope, we did Brian's. We got to do Michael's. Michael says, hey, you turned me on to FR bar with, the Floyd Rose bar with the Allen wrench in it. Why the hell didn't we think of this 30 years ago? Hello. Yeah, if you guys saw, I did a video, 10 gadgets I love or 10 accessories I love. And it was a stocking video, Christmas stocking video. And in there, I showed this Floyd Rose tremolo that has the Allen wrench built in it. And I thought it was amazing, so I shared it. I'm glad you got it and you like it. I agree. It was one of the things, as soon as I saw it, I go, so smart. So smart. Steven says, hey, Phil, I have a PT Fastback from Schecter. I'm sure it's a PT's. PTs usually imply Pete Townsend, since Pete Townsend used a Schecter parts Telecaster, which I love. The top of the neck is wider than the fretboard. Okay. I'm trying to understand what you're saying. The top of the neck is wider than the fretboard. The top of the neck. So it's sticking out from the fretboard? This is tough. Steve, Steven, this is a tough question because I'm not really looking at it. So what I'm getting from this is my guess is your fretboard shrank. That's what it sounds like. Fretboard shrank, and now you're probably feeling a thing. Here's the thing that I can tell you. Okay, let's just start with the easy part. This is a common thing. Sometimes the fretboards shrink, and there's a little bump, and that's what I think you're experiencing, a little bit of an edge on the actual physical maple neck versus the fretboard. And to fix that, it's essentially there's two steps. If you don't have a finish on the neck, which I think that neck does have a finish on it, like a thin poly finish that's satin, but I could be wrong. If you don't have a finish on it, you'd sand it. So, right, I would start, 250. That's something light. Take 250, sand it smooth, and probably if you were at the factory, they go to 350. I go to 400. You could probably go to 450 if you really want to get it smooth. So 400 grit it would work perfectly. The trick though is if it's got a finish, the only way to do it is sand it and then sand the entire neck to get all the finish off, and either have an unfinished neck and leave just and if it's got, this nice thing about that is you can leave just the fascia of the headstock with finish if you want to do that. Or you have to take it to a guitar shop to have them do a finish on it. But something to think about is that, I don't know where you live, but you may even get away sometimes with rehydrating the neck. So what you could do, especially if you have a guitar case, you could put in a guitar case and put a humidity pack in there, something that moisture. If you don't have a humidity pack, you can make one. Just take a clean sponge with distilled water or any kind of purified water. You definitely don't want anything in there because it's just going to grow mold and stuff. Poke some holes in the bag and throw it in the case. Get some moisture on that neck. The other thing you can do to that neck that might work is if you have a bathroom that's right next to a bedroom or in the bedroom and it has a door, when you take a shower, leave it in the bedroom on a guitar stand and take a hot shower. Leave the door open so that the steam goes in the bedroom, right? Does it make sense? Don't take it into the bathroom. It's too much moisture, but let that steam go out there. Trust me, the wood will find a way to suck some of that up out of the air. That's another thing you can do. I would actually probably suggest that. I can tell you right now, a lot of times when I do stuff like that, where I have to fix necks like that, I have a box that does that. I have one for acoustic and electric. It's just a box. It looks like a guitar case, but instead it's got a cradle and pad for the neck and the body, so I don't have any padding in there. And then it has these cups that I fill water into, and then I lock it in. I'll leave it in there for a couple of days, and it will keep the humidity up there pretty strong in that box. But for me, the problem is I live in an environment where the average humidity is 10%, and so, I mean, I can't do it any other way. I gotta force the thing shut into moisture. But if you live in a normal climate, most likely you could probably get away with just getting some moisture on the guitar. And that's what I would definitely do before you sand it, before you do all that stuff. So something like that. So hopefully that's a couple of suggestions you can use. Telly Driver says, should a neck pickup be under the virtual 24th fret, 5th harmonic, or slightly off? Oh, I have no idea. That is, I don't know. I mean, the placement of the pickups, I mean, is important, of course. I know what I'm looking at my telly right now as I turn my head. I'm sorry, the mic doesn't go with me if I turn. I see, I wish I had something to measure right now, because I'm trying to see where mine's at. I don't like it when it's too close to the neck. I like it pushed back. So about where the 24th fret would be, I like it a little bit, I think past that even. Let me look. Because think about this. I want to go, the easiest way to talk about this is the Paul Reed Smith theory, right? So he's got a custom 24 and a custom 22. And the idea between the custom 22 and the custom 24 of Paul Reed Smith, if you don't know, is that Paul talks about the fact that on the custom 22, the humbucker's in the sweet spot for the neck position, right? The pickup's in the sweet spot. And the custom 22, or the custom 24, the pickup's not in the sweet spot. That's the argument for the neck. And I do understand that and believe in that for the most part, but I find that, I don't know. I don't really buy into that exact placement. Like I said, if you see all my guitars are in different spots, and I can do some of the same things. One of the things I use to check guitars is that sometimes, as you know, you experience this. If you go to your bridge pickup and hit harmonics, they come out really bright. And if you go to neck pickup, sometimes you hit harmonics and they don't come out at all. It's like they've gone dead on you. But then you can get another guitar and you put it in the neck pickup and do harmonics and they come out. And I used to think that was pickup placement. What I've really learned is it's really the pickups themselves. And so I don't focus on that. So that's the problem with the question you're asking me is, should it be placed in a certain position? What I've learned for me is, when it comes to that stuff is I don't like the hotter, more powerful neck pickups. I like the softer pickups for neck. And I find that fixes a lot of that. I don't know. Let's see if, so that would be my suggestion. Also, I find the pickup placement height is really, really important to whether or not your harmonics are coming out really bright or really nice. Sometimes you just getting that pickup too close to the strings not only chokes them out, but it just really it becomes too intense, and then the harmonics deaden fast. So I'm not old, I'm vintage says, I like vintage spec Fenders and don't use a trim. Okay. I'm thinking of getting an Ibanez, is it Jiva? Is that how you say the Jiva? Jiva 10 to push my out of comfort zone. Oh, okay. How much will I hate the ultra modern shredder? How much you hate it? I find that if you're into Fender vintage spec instruments, you are not going to dig what Ibanez has out there. The only Ibanez that I would suggest to anyone who told me what you're telling me, I like Fender specs, like those style necks. What Ibanez would I get? The Joe Satriani, or I would get an AZ, and mostly I would push you on the Joe Satriani because his neck is kind of like a Fender C-shaped neck. I don't know how close the Jiva 10 is to his spec. I thought it was more like the Sabre, the S series. So I think that neck's a little thinner. It's not wizard thin, I don't think, but it's thinner. So I don't know. But you said you want to get pushed out of your comfort zone. That's probably a way to do it. I just want to thank Andrew for a super chat. Jeff says, hey, Phil, given the choice of limited funds, $2,000, that's not limited. Would you go Fender American 2 or Mod Shop? That's up to you. I love the idea of Fender Mod Shop. I would totally love to buy a guitar in Fender Mod Shop. Me personally, as you guys know, I like the guitars to be within a certain weight. I don't need them to be exactly a certain weight. I just don't want them to be really heavy, and I don't want them to be super light, which is usually never a problem. It's really, really heavy. And the Mod Shop, that's the problem. If I buy a guitar from there and I get it and it's 9.5 pounds, I have no control of that. So that's the only thing about that. Otherwise, I think the Mod Shop is probably one of the best deals Fender's put out in years for getting a semi-custom instrument. And then me personally, on another note, is I've just, like I said, in the last couple of years, Gibson and Fender, more so than anybody else, and they've all been guilty. I don't want to leave anybody off the list. PRS or Ibanez, everybody to some degrees had problems. Like I said, I've seen more guitar problems in the last 2 years since COVID than I've ever seen in my whole life in guitars, with fit and finish issues, everything, just issues. And we know what it is. It's a high demand. It's employee issues, obviously with safety issues and concerns, scarcity of supply chain stuff. There's all these things that are causing problems. And right now, that's one of the things that sucks, is that, the American Pro 2 is, at least if you get it from like Sweetwater or Musician Friend or somebody, if you don't like it, you can swap it out, maybe get a different one, where the Mod Shop's kind of like, oh, that's what you got. So that's the only thing. But the Mod Shop is great if you want something different. I think the Mod Shop is if you want something very specific or very different from Fender, get that. Okay. E.R. Webster says, you often talk about great value and low and mid-price Schecters, but what about reviewing high-end one, maybe even a custom shop? Oh, like the Schecter custom shop stuff? I've played them. The problem with Schecter, and I really believe this, is that as amazing as I've played at least 6 or 7 custom shop Schecter guitars, fantastic. Up there, obviously ESP quality, very high-end, very nice. They never feel that much better than the imported line of the Diamond series. That's just the reality of it. And I could say that about a lot of custom shops. There's just not a whole lot to say different. I believe that about Gibson's custom shop too, by the way. It's just not that much better than their production stuff. It's just not. Oh man, is that going to make people crazy? We were talking about earlier, upsetting somebody. Somebody who paid all this money for a custom shop product. And I do that on purpose, not upset them. That's why I buy those instruments. I've ever since I've been on this channel, I've purchased all kinds of instruments, high end, low end, $60 Glaries, $7,000 custom shop guitars. I put my hands on them. I bought them. So I could come at you with some kind of experience of it. Does that mean I'm right? It doesn't mean I'm close. But at least I'm not pulling it out of my ass as a theory. It's something I can physically say, for me, this is what I would do, and it is what I would do. So, so that's the problem, ER, is that Schecter's custom shop's great, but I just don't think it's that much better. The other thing is, but I don't know. The panda says he's triggered. So yeah, but ER, it's a great idea because, like I said, right now I want to in the next year, as this inflation and all the problems and all the things are coming out, I've been trying to focus on more small shops and small builders because like I've told you last week, I really believe that's what's going to be the problem for the next year or two, is the smaller guys are going to get pummeled by all this stuff. That's what these markets do to the smaller builders. They pummel them. So, yeah, it's funny. David says, I agree 100%. Not enough difference to buy unless it's going into the custom shop purchase. It is tough. Like I said, a lot of times, me personally, in this ER, this kind of ties into perfectly what I would say about Schecter. My love of custom shop instruments is usually about being unique. You know what I mean? That's what I want. If I'm buying custom shop, I want something that's unique to me. I want the only one, which is why I tend to get really excited. Like, for instance, when I reviewed this thing, this is my Seafoam Green Telly with the matching headstock. This is a American Standard Telly, and this was a Magnificent 7. I think this is what this was, and it had the matching headstock. And I did a video. I did a video on that a couple years ago on the channel. It's still up to this day. And in that video, I say things like, which is true, this was a great purchase. I think I paid at the time $1,200–1,300 for this guitar as an American Standard with case. And I said in the video what I say now. Now I have a custom shop guitar, because how many times do you see that guitar? You don't see it. There's only a few out there of not surf green. No matter what the camera, no matter what you think this color is, it is not. It is seafoam green. It's like a blue green. It's not the surf green. It's more like mint. It's more like a blue green. And it's got the matching pendant headstock. And so that's why I like limited run things, because limited run things become custom. In other words, you know, when they make 100 of something or 50 of something or even a 500 of something, it's not a lot. So year or 2 years down the road, you have custom. You have something that you don't see all the time. It's unique. So that being said, that's kind of the appeal to custom shop for me, is having something unique that I can't get anywhere else or from that manufacturer in that way. And a lot of times the Schecter custom shop is great, but it looks exactly like the Diamond stuff too. That's another thing that, you know, and a lot of custom shops aren't custom. You know, they're plug and play. They just make a few models and this is the suggestion or the things they have. But like I said, I'm interested. It's Victoria G. Okay, it's Victoria G says, I see an EVH signature behind you. Don't remember seeing that before. Have you ever tried a Brian May Guitar Special? I love it for its 24-inch scale. I probably have never played a Brian May guitar other than probably just some copy clones of those kind of guitars have probably come through my hands over the years. Nothing really specific. I would be interested in that guitar. That Brian May is like the tone. He's the tone that I just drool over. And his guitar through a Vox amp is so weird to me because when I plug in guitars like that into Vox amps, I never get that tone he gets. And a lot of times they'll say, well, it's the player and it's all these things. But no, I can get a lot of the basic tones from, like, if you give me a Les Paul and a Marshall and I play a Guns N' Roses lick, it sounds like a Guns N' Roses lick. I mean, it kind of sounds like it. Am I like Slash? No, but I mean, it's there. It's in the ballpark. I can ballpark things. Queen is just a sound. Man, he's just got some sound. And what he gets it out of is very unique. But that would be a guitar I would love to check out. Definitely. So like I said, put that in the comments if you guys want to see that guitar on the channel. I'd buy one of those to put on the channel. P, a G, to G, to G, 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 a bunch of E's, a bunch of G's, said, hello, Phillip. What happened to your Revolta it's Carbonita, right? I own one too. Would you swap the pickups? And if so, would you go for, what would you go for? Would I swap the pickups? I had no problems with those pickups. I thought they sounded fine. Like I said, the P90 sounded great. P90s, I like Lindy Fralin P90s. Those are really nice, sexy P90s. I love them. I don't know why. It's the second time I use the word sexy. I'm going to knock it off. I'm sorry, guys. This is going to become an odd show. I like sexy picks and sexy guitars and sexy amps. Anyways. But Lindy Fralin's, I think, make some of the best P90s out there. That's for sure. Trying to think who else P90s do I really like. And I like DiMarzio's P90s. And I mean, like I've said this before, it's really, P90s are a tough thing for me because I think a lot of them, and I mean a lot of them, sound the same. Because unlike single coil pickups for Stratocasters, which are a different kind of animal, P90s are kind of made very consistently the same. There's not a lot of variance in them, comparatively speaking, to the other types of pickups out there. So Brian's saying he likes the Lawler P90s. Those are also very, very good, right? Pickups. And that's where it gets a little tricky. But like I said, the problem I've experienced with P90s, and I've said this before, is that cheap ones sound good too. In fact, a lot of times I think when companies are smart and they're trying to make a cheap pickup sound good, they basically just take the anatomy of a P90 and shove it into something else. We see this all the time with single coil pickups. The perfect example of this is I really like, and I'm not exaggerating, I really like the old Made in Mexico standard Strat and Tele pickups. I think they were great. They were punchy. They were full. They didn't have the high-end sparkle of the vintage style pickups, but they were great. In fact, a lot of times players would buy Made in Mexico guitars, standards back in the day, and then they would upgrade to Made in USA, and they're like, this doesn't feel the same, and my amp's not pushing over, and all this stuff's happening. I'm like, and it's because if you really look at those, the way they kind of made them, it was kind of more like a P90. A P90 is essentially just a big magnet, a big bar magnet, sometimes two, sometimes one, and a lot of wire. That's it. That's kind of the math. Yeah, and Brian says Dave Freeman makes it. Well, like I said, everybody makes a good one. See, that's what I said. Like, you see Brian, he's already like, oh, and here's another one. I feel the same way. I can be like, here's another one. Here's another one. I've told you guys before, I make them. I sell crap tons of them. And I tell you guys over and over again, mine are not special at all. They are made. I just literally took a Gibson profile of one. That's the one I'm copying, and I copied it. Everybody's copying the same P90s. There are very few exceptions, and some pickup manufacturers get upset. Some pickup winders get upset when I talk like this. It's the only pickup I talk like this about, and it's just because there's something about having having so much ability to wind so much wire on there and do it the way they do it. It's just. Richard says, "Are you going to make P90?" I already make P90. Mine are called Full Moons, and they're literally just vintage. Except for I have a reverse round one. So mine are vintage spec, but technically some of the vintage spec stuff is not having a reverse round one. But I have a reverse round one, so you have a noise canceling in the middle. But and again, it's again, it's just a pickup. It's like my. Talk about it like a horrible sales pitch, right? Mine are just average, like everybody else's. I like mine. I have mine in, so you know, all my P90 guitars. I got asked this once, I think when I did my thing, they're like, why don't I talk more about my P90 guitars? Because I have like 3-4 guitars that have P90s. All of my guitars, if you see P90s, they're just the P90s I wound and put them in there. So I try not to do that on the channel, as you know. As you guys know, it gets a little tough. That's why sometimes when you go, how come you don't use this guitar anymore? Usually once I start sticking my pickups in guitars over the years, I don't use those guitars in videos anymore. Because again, you have no reference of that. You have no reference of what I'm doing. Rich said, where do you go to get your pickups? I put a link. It's blackstockpickups.com. And a patron made a suggestion, so we did it this week. My wife did it. That's also where we're going to probably post, or we did actually post gear that we're no longer using on the channel. So sometimes like something comes in, like I used a radial ABY box headbone. That was for a video. So I did it so I can do the Soldano EVH. So that was for a video. So like that's where that stuff will go. It'll go right there if you guys want to buy that stuff. Because like I told you guys, a lot of times when you guys are asking me about gear, sometimes I mean, literally like a perfect example, I got the Captor X was sent to me by Two Notes. They sent that to me. So, and I told you I got the aux that was sent by Sweetwater because I worked out a deal where they would send that out. And what was I gonna say? Oh, so I got the aux, and then I talked to Two Notes and I said, hey, if you send out a Captor X, I'd like to AB the two of them. That'd be a good video. So I did that. The trick though is during this kind of deep dive I did with all this gear, I kind of realized that a reactive load box would be the most interesting thing. So I bought from Sweetwater a King of Tone Iron Man 2, and I used that in the video. But I just bought it for the video. I mean, I'm sure I guess over time I'll use it, but really I won't. So like I said, I don't think sometimes you guys see how much gear these channels, but all these channels just are constantly buying gear. Because even if companies send gear, it's just because they send it to you doesn't mean it's the video you want to make or you need to make. So that stuff will go on there too. You'll see that stuff there too. Michael says, do you still use the pickup swapping guitar? I do. In fact, I have some more pickup videos coming soon. The only problem is they don't make it anymore. I guess they redesigned it and they went a different way. They thinned the body down so it's a thinner spec on the body, and they changed a bunch of stuff, and they changed the cartridges. Now they did offer, Somnium did offer, they sent me an email saying, hey, if I send them all my cartridges, I think they have to thin them down. They have to change them to the new spec. But I mean, in my world, I'm sure a lot of you can relate to this. That's a priority thing. Like when a company's like, hey, if you do this, I'm like, that's great. And I will, as soon as I do the other 10 things I haven't done yet. And so that's what happened with them. It was no other reason than literally like, I can only pass off so much stuff to my wife to do, and I got to do stuff too. So that's why. So that guitar really doesn't help them for me to talk about it anymore. And so I'm going to be using it in videos. Is it in the room? I thought it was here. Oh, it's right there. Okay, it's to my right of me. It's just out of shot. It's right here. So yeah, and I have some more pickup videos coming, so you'll see that. Okay. All right. Wait, how are we doing on time? I don't even know what time it is. Okay. We have... Michael says, my wife is in the room laughing her ass off. So he's talking about earlier when I was talking about wives. I know that's the downfall. Sometimes when I push these comments back, they're not in the moment. I apologize about that. But if there's a better way to do this, I tried, when we started this, I tried to just hitting stuff as it pops, but it just becomes just so much chaos. Grumpy Guitar Mike, Grumpy Mike Guitar. I'm always going to call you Grumpy Guitar Mike. Grumpy Mike Guitar says, is there any new gear on the horizon that is getting you excited? Absolutely. Or at least is it worth heads up? Absolutely. Somehow, Nathan, my buddy Nathan, found it. He sent me a text in the middle of the night. I was drinking wine. I discovered wine, by the way. I'm very excited about that. Actually, I can tell you, sometimes we talk about alcohol. There's two things I want to talk about. When I did the end of year New Year's Eve thing, and I drank the jalapeno drink thing. Some of you guys gave me a great idea that I'm going to do it the last show of every month. Last show of every month, I should try a new alcohol beverage and drink it on the show for the last show of the month. And then a viewer, one of you guys, reached out and said, hey, you should do Rockstar themed drinks. So I looked at Rush had a beer, but it won't ship to me. So this is a good time to bring this up. If you guys know, like obviously John Petrucci has a bourbon, and I saw Snoop Dogg has like a vodka or something. Dan Aykroyd has a vodka. He's the Blues Brothers, so that counts, like a Crystal Skull vodka. So basically, if you guys want to send emails to me at pmcknight7 with suggestions of those things you can find from musicians that have their own alcohol line, I think that'd be nice to tie in, and I will buy them and we'll try them if I can get them. Like I said, the Rush, the band Rush has a beer, but it's like, I guess they don't ship here because I tried and they wouldn't ship here. Kowal says, I love sweet red wine. Well, that's why I said this was funny. I've never been a wine drinker. It's never been my thing. And I got a great Christmas gift from Larry DiMarzio. He sent me a charcuterie board, with some expensive cheeses and a bottle of wine, and a very expensive bottle of wine, which I didn't know. When I mean I didn't know what constitutes an expensive bottle of wine and inexpensive bottle of wine. My wife explained it to me. So anyways, I loved it. In fact, me and Ralph had our first wine ever, that bottle of wine. Larry doesn't even know the story. I haven't had a chance to tell him yet. We liked it so much. Me and Ralph liked it so much that we got halfway through the bottle, and then we found where they sell that bottle in town and had my son drive us there, and we bought another bottle. But we couldn't get the same bottle. The one he sent us was 2015 and we bought 2017, and it was a huge difference. I was really shocked. It's kind of getting off subject, right? Well, I guess not. We're going to do alcohol the last a drink. I'll do a drink and last episode of the month. Snoop Dogg's 19 Crimes wine is good. There you go. I will do that stuff. I feel like gear on the horizon. So Nathan sent me a thing, and So I don't know if you caught this, but the Silver Sky got so much attention with PRS, they released some new products also besides the Silver Sky. So they got a new line of acoustics, which I already kind of knew about. We already talked about that. And they came out with a new S2 guitar, which is the 2408 in the S2. So they had the 2408 in the core. As we know, they did the 2408 in the SE, and now they have a 2408 standard, which is the less expensive SE. But there's a core guitar now. Or don't listen to me. There's an S2 2408, but that's not what was interesting. What's interesting is it's a pattern thin neck. So S2s are all pattern regular necks. So this, except for the 594. So it's the smaller neck. So he said that to me. He goes, I can't believe not only they did an S2 2408, they did it pattern thin. And I was like, whoa. And then when I looked on their website, one of the new colors is Bonnie Pink Cherry Burst, which you guys seen the Bonnie Pink SEs, which is that pink. And I guess it's got cherry bursted on the back and sides. So I immediately contacted Gene at PRS and said, Gene, I need one of these on the channel. I said, how do we make this happen? I said, and then so she called me back and said, we can get you one, send it out. And she gave me a color. She's like, this color. And I was like, I will buy it. I don't care, but I want the Bonnie Pink one because I want to be able to see, because in the pictures it's hard to tell if it's any cool or not. It doesn't look exciting on the pictures, but if you've ever seen Bonnie Pink guitars from PRS in person, I know a lot of you are probably not into pink stained instruments, but they really pop. They're really interesting in person. So long story short, Grumpy Mike Guitar, I'm really interested in that. What else? I'm trying to think what else is interesting. I don't know. I don't know. That kind of, like I said, so I don't know. So that's something. At least I answered it with that. The Know Your Beer channel. Grumpy Mike Bourbon would be great. So, Courier Bell Erie, I hope I'm saying it right, says, been sub since the Hot Rod Deluxe video, and this is the first time joining the live show. I just wanted to say thank you for joining the live show. You guys are giving me a lot of suggestions for alcohols. Like I said, if you could email them to me, so I'll try to Google them and find them and stuff. Voodoo Fist said happy Friday, and so did Johnny. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Is that a thing now? Happy Friday. It was now. Joel says, hey, Phil, Happy New Year. What do you think of Pedal Pond pedals? I have never tried them. Pedal Pond? But I will Google them tonight and take a look. Jim77V, who's a Steve Vai fan, obviously, and a Jim fan, says, buying a 1963 Fender Jaguar tomorrow from a reputable dealer, 100% original frets, in good shape. It's banged up, but only cosmetically. It's a sunburst. What do you think is a fair price? Paying cash. I have no idea what that stuff goes for. What I can tell you is this. I really believe this. Vintage gear is obviously it's a investment. It's different. It's a different game. If you buy vintage gear, it's because you're trying to invest and grow your money, and that's what you're doing with it. And what I can tell you is the only good and bad thing. The only thing I know, and I know very little when it comes to the vintage market. Like I said, I have friends that do it, and everyone I know who does it and does it well is a very harsh personality. Like it's got it's a win or lose mentality. The people who are successful in that market, it's like they're not out making friends, right? They're out there to make deals. You know what I mean, and get stuff done. And it's a tough market. I learned that really really early on in my life in this industry. Was not the thing. Like, to be successful at this, it's all about like I said, buying stuff when stuff's cheap, which usually means when people, just like real estate stuff, when people die, when people get divorced, you know what I mean? And selling at the height. So it's not the market I'm excited about, so I don't really dabble in it. And I'm not, so that's what I can't tell you. I don't have a whole lot of advice. But what I can tell you is this. When you buy it, what you have to think about is, if you buy it good, in other words, you buy it for the right price, you will see a dividend in 5 years. This is just my layman's opinion, okay? If you buy a vintage instrument at its high mark, in other words, when you book it and it's at the high end, you're going to wait 10 to 20 years before you see a dividend. If that's what you care about. I don't I don't know, maybe you just want a 63 because you're born in 63 and you're like, I'm getting a 63 Jaguar. and that's fine. But that's just my only information. The Juggernaut TV2 says, tell us your thoughts on Zach Myers versus Myers SE. Thanks. I don't have really any thoughts about them per se. I like the Zach Myers SE a lot. I like the satin neck. Both of them have the chunkier neck, so that's the only drawback. The Zach Myers SE, just like the Core, is the same as the Silver Sky. It's a great guitar. It probably would be my favorite at PRS if it just came with a standard neck. Like if the Zach Myers came with the regular padded regular neck, it would be my favorite SE. And probably Core. Same with the Silver Sky. If the Silver Sky came with the same neck as a PRS Core instrument, whether it be padded regular or padded thin, I have both. 10-inch radius, that neck carve, that would be my main guitar. and I want the PRS tremolo because I like the block saddles, not the bent saddles. I have bent saddles on guitars. I like them, but I like block saddles better. I like the way it feels on my hand. That's it. It's not a tone thing for me. Like I said, a lot of times I've talked about this before. A lot of things that have nothing to do with tone with me. It has to do with physically how it feels. I want it to feel a certain way. And that's what I find paramount, is the feeling of it. That's what motivates me to play. The sound is secondary. And the reason I say that is because a lot of the guitars that I think are the best sounding guitars I've ever played are just horrible to play. The necks are thick. Generally speaking, usually if you give me a guitar with a really thick neck, it sounds great. It's just a pain to play. I'm not really into them. Okay, this is a hard question. What is the expected level to have in 2 years of playing? Well, I would say my answer to that would obviously, think of it this way. Age is a big deal. Younger players advance faster than older players. So that's the first thing. But what I will tell you is the trick with that question is I'm going to give you old speech, old meaning. I've said this for years. It's not how many years you've been playing. It's how many hours you've been practicing. That's how it goes. And that actually continues, which means if you practice a lot for 2 years and then you don't practice for 2 years, when you pick it back up, you will not have everything you had. It doesn't all stay, right? What they say, like getting back on the bicycle, it's not all there. So I know what you're probably implying is 2 years and maybe heavy practicing, but that's really what it comes down to, is how much practicing you do. But what's the expected level of someone who's playing for 2 years? I would say if they were younger and they're putting more time into it, I would say at that point you should be able to play with other musicians. No problem. Playing with other musicians means exactly that. You should be able to stay on the band, maybe hold rhythm, play songs. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Now, right now, if some of you are going like, I've been playing for 5 years and I can't do that, there's nothing wrong with that. We're talking about younger players. I started when I was 15, and by the time I was 17, I was playing in bands. Not saying I was great, but I was definitely good enough to be in the band and play the cover songs and all the stuff we were doing. And that was at that age. If I was starting at, and I've said this before on the channel, every decade you wait, it's harder. It's not a discouragement. It's just you have to be aware of it. If you start playing guitar when you're 15, it's going to be this hard. If you start when you're 25, it's a little harder. 35 is a little harder. 45 is a little harder. 55 is a little harder. 65 is a little harder. Just gets a little harder. One, not only do you have to deal with the fact that you don't learn the same way, that's part of it. But the second problem is that part of playing guitar is muscle memory more than muscle strength. Strength is important. Your tendons and everything, how you squeeze, how this works is important, but it's really the memory. That's why sometimes if you notice when you start, you just kind of like want to push your fingers right through the fretboard. You actually probably are stronger, pushing harder when you start than later on when you're playing, because again, you need the muscle memory. You need to know instinctively how much to push down, not just push down all you can. And because that helps you not become fatigued. Obviously, if you squeeze all the time, over time, your hand just gets tired, right? So you gotta know what's the minimum amount of pressure I can put down and play, and that extends how long I can play. So muscle memory is a big part of that. And I've said this before. This is a little thing we know about players, and as they get older, is that your brain, from probably the day you were carrying your sippy cup, decides that your hand is stronger closed than open, right? It's why you punch instead of slap, right? It's really, you're like, right? If you think about this, if you pick up something like I pick up this cup, look how instinctively you put your fingers together. You don't spread them out. You're not like you don't pick up things with your fingers out like this. You bring things in closer. You grab remotes, you grab things, you bring in fingers closer. Your brain auto files. You're stronger with your fingers close together. You're closed. This is strength. So the problem with that for guitar players is guitar players don't have strength. They have finger strength. You need each finger to be as equally strong. Your pinky needs to be as strong as your index and so on. And you need to space out because the more you scrunch up, that's where you have trouble where this finger is now muting this string and causing problems. So the problem when you start learning guitar older is now you got to fight whatever your brain's been auto-filing for years, which is why there's great exercises called the spider walk. That's one, if you don't know what that is, Google it. All kinds of scales, like when you do chromatic scales, chromatic just one after another, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, starting the first fret, going to the fourth fret. And then working your way up, or if your hands are a little bit more sensitive, you can actually go backwards because obviously that's the hardest part is the wider frets starting on the first fret. Maybe start at the 12th fret and work your way down to the first fret. And but my point is that that's why this question is tough because you can't grade yourself that way. Does it make sense? How long you've been playing? It's how much you've been practicing and what's the dividend on that, and then also what your age is because that's what you're overcoming, and there's success in that too. You know what I mean? I'm not just here. I'm not you can do it. I'm not here to BS you guys. I'm just being honest. If you start older, you got to overcome things, and that's part of the success. And you have to realize that's success. Every guitar player has been playing since they were a kid. When we watch players that start when they're older, we all secretly like in our heads go, I'm so glad I started a little younger. it's the truth because you can see and you can see that you would be in the same boat. So to answer your question, at 2 years, I would say if you're a younger player or someone who's been putting in a lot of practice, I definitely think you should be able to hang with a band playing in time, playing chord changes, you know what I mean? Doing stuff like that. But like I said, it's tough because it's hard to say that stuff because I don't want to discourage anyone who's been playing longer than that going, oh my God, I'm at 5 years and I'm not even close to that. It's not a thing. The better question to ask yourself is always, are you enjoying it? And that's the big thing because I always tell people, if you don't enjoy the practice, you're never going to enjoy this because you will practice. Practice doesn't end. You know what I mean? That's the thing that's crazy. It's the irony of this is that as you get better, you don't stop practicing. You actually practice more. Pro guitar players practice more than beginners. They're constantly playing, keeping their chops up. So, John Grove says, do I think DiMarzio will make active pickups? No. You know the saying, never say never. So never say never. That being said, obviously I've hours and hours of Larry and I talking about all kinds of stuff. And the sense I get is that he's not ever going to do an active pickup. That would be my sense of it for whatever reason. He doesn't have I've never heard him voice a strong opinion about it. I just kind of remember in passing him talking about them and what he likes and doesn't like. And I don't think so. I think right now he's really focused on, if you guys saw when I did the review of the P pickups that are arched, that roll over, he's really focused on getting the jazz version pickup and the Music Man style pickup done. And I can't wait because like I told him, once those are out, I'm going to put those in all my basses. Thunder Falcon says, got to make practice fun. Absolutely. It's got to be. Like I said, you got to learn to like that. Some people tell me I want to play guitar and I'm sick of practicing. I'm like, well, that's the problem. You don't want to find that that's not the fun part of this because that's the part you're always going to do. We have JC Moore says, was the PRS Sinzera 50 amp a fail? I don't know if it was a fail. I think it was confusing because it came out to me and it was not like the Archon, so it wasn't high gain, and it was a bluesy amp. Which was more like the other amps, but different. I know part of the problem, Sinzera, I know part of the problem was they've been on back order forever. I didn't know this was a problem. When the Archon 50 came out, when they sent that to me, I briefly remember in the conversation them talking about the fact that like, yeah, we finally got these in because we, and they said they've been waiting like 8 months or a year for Sinzeras because of COVID and supply chain issues and stuff. So the Sinzeras still exist as far as I know, and they just have been having issues with getting them in stock. But I'll tell you this, I like the Sinzera. I reviewed them when it came out, and I don't remember. Did PRS supply those or did I buy those? I'm pretty sure I bought them. I'm really sure. I mean, you have to go back to the videos now. It's hard to say. With PRS, it's real simple. They never pay me. We don't have a deal with that. They never pay me. Sometimes they loan me gear. Sometimes I get to keep gear, and sometimes I buy gear. And so it gets a little confusing. You know what I mean? I kind of want to look back, like which scenario was that? I thought the Sinzera was I bought them. But that being said, I like them a lot. I just didn't like them more than the Custom 50. But keep in mind the Custom 50, which they don't make anymore, back then was 2.5 times the price. So, David did a super chat. Thank you, man. Tito said, "Hey, Phil, thank you for showing me the built-in hanger in the SE gig bag." Oh yeah, I love that thing. Says, my PRS almost a year, but had no clue. No telling if you ever would have found it. Here's towards the growler. Oh yeah, thank you for the Know Your Beer. I'm glad. You know what? I had done that on the Zach Myers SE video, and I got so many comments from people like you saying, I didn't know that hanger was built into the gig bag. And so when I went to do I'm so glad. Thank you so much for telling me that, because when I did the John Mayer SE video, I almost edited that out because I was like, I already talked about that. Like, this is, stupid. And then I was like, well, wait a minute. What's the odds that everybody saw that, maybe I should hit it every time, because like you, people don't know it's in there. And I thought that's one of the coolest features in that bag, that you can hang them. You know what I mean? I thought that was always really cool. So I'm glad you liked it. Cause again, that makes me think that decision was a good decision. BX Games says, thank you for the show. Any thoughts on Rivera amps? Love Rivera amps. They're some of the most overbuilt amps you'll ever see in your life. I've been loving the stage, but Rivera seems quiet when it comes to YouTube, social media. I've reached out to Rivera, so you know. I can't remember if it was 2 years ago or 3 years ago. It was before COVID, so it was definitely 2 years ago. I reached out to Rivera and basically said, hey, look, I love your stuff. It's built better than everybody else. I would love to promote it on the channel. I sent them a message. So you guys know, I didn't ask him for free gear. I didn't ask him for money. I didn't ask him for nothing. I just basically I think I said it the way I usually say it, like, if you got accommodation pricing, sell me something on a deal, I could definitely do that, which is free promotion to you. Or if you just loan me stuff, that's even better. And, what's that really cost in the end game of this? A little shipping charges here and there, and you get promotion out of it. And I don't remember who responded to me. It might've been the son. And he said, okay, we'll find out and get back to you. And that was it. So, and I'm not pushy ever on that stuff. So if I reach out to a company, I can tell you right now, companies watch the live show every week too. And some of them, I'll tell you right now, as a company, if I ever reached out to you and I never reach out again, sometimes the companies I'll talk to them years later and they go, yeah, you were mad at us. I'm like, I'm not mad. I just won't do it again. Like, I mean, if you reach back out to me, I'm down. In fact, my response will be like, oh, that's awesome. But if I reach out to you and you're not showing interest, I'm not going to keep hitting on you and going, hey, yeah, how about some stuff? And Rivera was one of those things, like you said, I knew they weren't doing social media. I know they're not out there. And so, you guys talk about this all the time as viewers, and especially a lot of you like to watch a lot of channels and stuff. And you'll say like, oh man, the same products are on all the channels. Man, it's not always it's not just from a lack of trying. You know what I mean? It's exactly that. The companies that get this, that get social media, man, they get it. PRS is like a perfect example. The Keep Sending Guitars. Kiesel's a perfect example. Glary, right? Pick your poison. Donner, right? These companies, man, they keep pushing. What's crazy to me is like I said, what they're interested in. The companies that are doing this over again, what they succeed at, what they found is how cheap this is. It costs nothing to get products in front of guitar players that love watching about products. I once told the Toman guys this. I go, think about this. The person watching this wants to know about what new gear's coming out. Who better would you want your gear put to, right? The people that not only are consumers, but excited consumers, an excited consumer, you don't want access to that at the cheapest ever in history it's ever cost to get your product in front of anybody, much less the exact customer you're looking for. And to this day, the problem I have, and I think, and I've talked to a lot of channels. I've talked to a lot of channels just in the last week. I talked to channels. We talked sometimes, shop talk back and forth, and very consistent. Whether the channel I'm talking to has 1 million or 2 million subscribers, or 20,000 subscribers, or 2,000 subscribers, or 200 subscribers, there's a very big consistency here, which is the problem you have daily or weekly with your channel is the same 10 brands want to keep sending you product, and that gets exhausting for the audience and for us. Like, okay, here's another thing from that company, and so you want to get new fresh meat on the on the channel. And when you talk to those companies, they're like, what's social media again? What do I get out of this? For advertising. But what does that do for me? For advertising. Yeah, but why would I be interested in that? Lots of guitar players will see this who like to buy stuff. No, but I don't know. I'm not making that up. That sounds like me being a sarcastic ass. That's literally a phone call I've had in the last month. What do I get? I actually had a fun conversation. I don't want to throw the guy under the bus because he was 62, and I think that's the problem. Is when I say that's the problem, I meant like he's just been in this industry too long. His age actually kind of sounds bad when I say 62. I don't mean he's 62. It's like 40 years in the industry, and the industry has had to change so dramatically in the last 10 to 20. And it's like he just didn't get it. And he runs a large company. And my favorite part of the conversation ended with nah. He was like, well, what? And I said, well, here are what we know. You know what I mean? If we put, if you get a guitar in my hands and we talk about it on the channel, I have an audience and we like to talk about guitars. And, and again, like I told him, I don't really sell the guitars or anything like that, but at least it's out there and we're talking about it. Talking about it leads to something, right? It's an opportunity. So it's all about opportunities. And, and I threw the deal that you can, you throw, which is, if you want to leave the guitar behind, you can leave it behind. If you want it back, you can get it back. It's up to you. You know what I mean? Obviously, I'm not interested in keeping anything I'm not interested in. And if I'm really that interested in it, you're probably going to have to fight me to not pay it for, buy it from you. But either way, you're going to get some content out of it. And he's like, huh. And after I walked down this whole speech about how basically it cost him almost nothing to do this, and it's all upside at this point, he went, you make a good point, but nah. That was my favorite thing. And I went, huh. So there you go. So, so that's my thing about Rivera. It's like I said, I'll keep doing it. But so you guys know, as you guys know, that's why I made, because like I said, the fact that the podcasts are sponsored by patrons, the fact that, I proudly say 95% of all the income that this channel makes is coming from non-guitar company related, sponsorship. And I'm always rounding, up. It's 95 is very conservative when it comes to 95% of and that includes free gear and all that stuff. And the reason I do that is because I don't want to be beholden to anyone, but more importantly, I don't want to be trapped. And when I mean by trapped is like, I got to wait for the companies that only want to work with the channels. And so we buy gear. And I just bought another guitar. As you guys know, I bought the Dean Zielinski guitar, but they're taking forever to ship it. So I just bought another guitar for the channel. And so when you guys mention stuff like Rivera, that's another product. I'm willing to buy anything to put it on the channel that you guys are interested in watching. And I use the law of averages to let it all work out. Because I don't want to get stuck with just the same 10 companies all the time. All right, hold on. Hold on. Okay, this is from Martin. Martin says, are the Silver Sky locking tuners worth $189? Is that what they are? Or should I just use Hip Shot and save some money if I ever get the SE? I wouldn't pay $190. Not me personally. I'm not gonna, knowing that they have them. I wouldn't do that. Other than maybe if I was just trying to do a video on how to install them, if that's something you're interested in, I'll let you guys decide. I'll tell you what I'll do, especially on the rebroadcast. So if you guys are watching this rebroadcast, please put it in the comments and I'll check comments too. You guys let me know. I'm going to upgrade the tuners on my Silver Sky SE. You tell me Gotoh, Kluson, or the PRS keys. Which one you want? And keep in mind, if you want to keep it easy, just say Gotoh or Kluson, or the Gotoh or PRS. Tell me which ones you want to see a video of me updating. And keep in mind, this is exactly what I was talking about. I have to buy the Gotohs. But if the PRS ones, I do the PRS ones, I can probably get PRS to send those out. I can probably reach out to them, maybe, and they'll send some out for the video. But that being said, I'm not interested in doing a video on some tuning keys that none of you are interested in seeing, right? Because I'm okay with either ones in my guitar. So, Brian says, Grover mini tuner. No, they're Kluson. Look, the SEs are Kluson style tuners. So you want to use Kluson or Gotoh. Gotoh makes a Kluson style key that I like. So Gotoh, Kluson, right. Same thing. So like I said, PRS keys are going to be all, like I said, I know you guys are putting comments down, but try to do it in a comment afterwards in the video. And let me know, and I'll get whatever ones and that make the most sense and install them. But I can tell you this, if I get the Gotoh ones, I'm pretty sure I can get ones that don't cause any modification to the guitar at all. I'm pretty sure even the PRS ones you have to mod a little bit. So, and that's if and I just want to make sure, Martin, he's saying the PRS tuners, but I don't even know if they're actually the Silver Sky ones or if they're just talking about their locking keys, because those won't fit correctly without modification. Jason says, hey, Phil, can you recommend me a set of Strat pickups that would sound full but articulate? I like to think of it this way. The later the year, just go off Fender. Okay. So go off Fender. When we're talking about Strat style pickups, use Fender as a logic, and then you can pick your brand based on that. So what I mean by that is, if you think about fat 50s, that term fat is very misleading. Fat 50s to me are bright and chimey and clear, and they sound great, but they are definitely going to have those the high-end tones. So 50s. Then when you say 60s, right, it's going to get a little fuller. Like, think of it this way: as it gets longer, as it gets more recent, I should say, I'll use the 69 ones again. And the reason is just think of Hendrix and how fat his sound got, right? That's something to think about too. Texas Specials also work really well too. But to me, if I was looking for something that, like you said, that sounds full, see, to me, the problem with most single coils is they don't sound very full sounding. They're not big sounding. Even if they're bassy, they're not full. So I like the 69 ones by Fender, or 63s will work. Like I said, all that stuff, anything 60s works great. That's ones I think about. And then you can find the corresponding brands that make those pickups as well. High Desert Hoodad said, is it possible to put a 0 fret onto a guitar that doesn't have one? Sure, of course. Yeah. I don't even necessarily think it would be even hard. You would basically, because you're just going to run the fret up against the nut for the most part. Well, that's not true, because we're going to have to, here's what I can tell you. The answer is, I don't know why I'm saying it that way. I'm saying there is a, hold on, so I don't have to guess. Let's see. Okay, it's called Zero Glide nuts. So to answer your question, I'm going to show you right now. Not that. Oh my goodness. I guess, whoa, they're proud of this stuff. All right, ready? Right here. Zero Glide nuts. Like I said, I always tell you guys, if you ever want to find anything cool parts-wise, like unique parts, go to Stu Mac and use Stu Mac's website as an information guideline. Okay, you don't have to buy from Stu Mac. You can find, like I said, I'm not here to sell you anything. I don't work for any of these companies. Buy from whoever you like, but I'm telling you, a lot of times Stu Mac, the way that you can find the information is quick. Like, notice how fast I found it. So this is a nut you can add to any guitars. You can see here they have ones for Fender, Gibson, Martin, Taylor, Dreadnought, Triplot, Classical, Banjo, Mandolin, Mandalorian. And so this is a nut that actually comes with a 0 fret. So yes, the answer is, that's why I was saying you can put one behind the fret, or behind the nut. I'm sorry. Don't listen to me. You can put a fret behind the nut when you buy one of these. It comes with a fret wire too, and it actually comes with different kinds of fret wire here. Let's go here. So if you ever so inclined that you need a 0 fret, you can buy this kit. They're charging almost $40 for it plus shipping, but I'm sure you can find it for less other places. But there you go. I hope that, there you go. The answer to your question is yes. Sun bass, Sun, like the brand, SNN. Says Phil, I have around a dozen 4-string 34-inch scale basses. I use different gauges, brands, and types of strings each bass. What is your thoughts on having unique setups and strings on each instrument? That is exactly what I do. Absolutely. I think you're missing out if you don't take that opportunity. Look, if you're going to collect a bunch of basses or guitars, if you're going to have a bunch, okay, there's the collecting thing is where the opportunities come from. Look, if you're a gigging person and you're like, okay, I have 3 guitars and like this is my main guitar, it's a backup, and this one's the one we play with Dad. That makes total sense to me. To me, if you're sitting there and you have a room that looks like this, or a bigger version of this, or a smaller version of this, whether it's basses or guitar, and you have 5 basses, 5 guitars, 10 basses, 10 guitars, whatever, you're missing an opportunity if you don't mess with string gauges, string types. Different tunings, have that there. It's easy. You know what you do? When I have a guitar I don't play very often, bass too, by the way. I don't play my Stu-Ham Urge bass very much. So I did a video, if you look it up, where I used nylon tape wound strings from D'Addario and I put it on that bass. They're still on there. That video is 3 years old. Same strings are still on that same bass. I made that video because I bought those strings and I thought, oh, man, what if I talk about these strings? I'll put them on the video. So same thing with guitars. Sometimes, if I'll have a guitar with 8 gauge strings on it. I have a guitar with 11s. I have a guitar that's in drop D. I have a guitar that's in drop C. I have a guitar that's, full step down. I have a guitar that's in dad. So absolutely, I have a guitar with flat wounds. Especially if there's a guitar I don't use. That's how I justify it. If I want to keep it, and I'm like, I don't use it very often, but I like it. I might put a weird tuning or different gauge of strings or something on there, so that's kind of the logic. When I want to mess with something like that, I can. Sometimes you don't understand. Like a lot of players will have a lot of pedals for different sounds, but man, just a lot of different tunings and a lot of different string gauges and styles of strings. Whether that be, for instance, like I have 2 SGs, one with pure nickels on them and one with standard nickel plated strings, and because the pure nickels just they bend a little easier and they're softer and they don't have the highs because the way the pickups pick up the field. So that's 2 different sounding SGs to me. So yeah, absolutely. Yes, with basses, I think so. Absolutely. My basses, every single bass, I have no duplicate basses. In other words, none of my basses are set up the same way and have the same strings. I only have 3, but technically I got something coming. And then Ellen says, hey, Phil, does Blackstock pickups make a drop-in pickups that would fit into a Mexican Fender Mustang? No. The next step, the evolution we'll be doing is drop-in ready pick guards. We'll be doing that, but it'll be an HSS, a single, and a humbucker, and that's it. But it'll be for Strats. Again, you got to understand, every pickup is wound by me. There is no my wife does the boxes. She does packaging. She does the shipping. She does correspondence when you guys are asking questions on the website. This has been a big discussion in the house over and over again about well, what if, we help you do this? And what if we help you do that? And right now, literally the way I make them, I make a bunch of pickups. This is how I've been doing it forever. I make a bunch of pickups and then I do them all by hand by me, just me. And then I match them and then I test them with my ears, not a multimeter. I test them and I match them up and then I sort them on these shelves and I put them on the shelves and then they go and then I bag them and write on them what they are and then my wife puts them in boxes. So the problem with that is you gotta understand it's a function of time. I really learned that it's just I got to do keep it simple. That's why I do match sets on everything. Again, this will never be a huge endeavor unless I go with the licensing gig or I go with an outside manufacturer and then the prices will drop dramatically. So I don't know. We'll see. Telecaster 48 says, I guess in Arizona, strings don't corrode. Absolutely they don't. It's 10% humidity. Okay. On that note, we are at the end of the show. Let me see if I missed a super chat. The last one was be Ray, Ray says, what is your take on the Gibson 61 Standard SG with Vibrola? What is my take on it? I'm not a big fan of that bridge. I don't understand. That's part of the vintage thing I don't get. Okay. And so what I try to do is try to relate to the whole, like maybe you had a moment in time or you have an artist that you love that uses that instrument. To me, sometimes like that bridge was a pain in the ass. Anyone who's worked on it knows it's a pain in the ass. It didn't work a lot of times. And then they bring it back and you're like, that was a failed bridge as far as I'm concerned. We've improved it. That's the weird thing about vintage things. I get it, but I don't get it. Does it make sense? Like I get when somebody's like I told you guys this before. Fender figured out that we don't have to take off the neck to adjust the truss rod, and they put it at the top of the headstock. And then they figured out that we can put a spindle truss rod at the base. That's even easier, and I don't need to worry about what Allen wrench I'm using. I can just use any kind of stick, right? Why once we did that do we go back? I don't understand that. It's such a weird thing. It's such a weird thing. So I don't understand. Like to me, it's like I like the Bigsby bridge better. There's other bridges I like better, so I don't understand going back. But if it's aesthetically what you want and it looks cool and maybe there's some nostalgia there or some kind of thing you're connected to, I get that. Because I get that because a lot of the guitars I have are not rational thoughts. They're just nostalgic or things I'm interested in. But that's the problem for me is that goes too far back for me. I don't have any players or anybody that I like think back and go, oh wow, I totally need I need that kind of bridge or guitar. I do think it looks cool as hell though. And maybe that's what the appeal is too, because I do like the way they look. I think that bridge looks cool. If you guys haven't seen it, you should Google it. It's pretty cool. Fender on a stick. Yeah. So on that note, we're going to let it go. I want to thank the moderators for helping out every week as they do. I want to thank all of you. I want to thank the channel members for doing questions. Everybody who asked questions and did super chats. I want to thank you guys, especially because, hey, you're supporting the channel just like everybody else. Everybody watching, thank you guys so much. I hope you guys have a fantastic weekend. We'll see you guys next Friday for more gear and discussion. And until next week, I want to thank you guys so much for your time. And know your gear.